Bridgewater, and posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building. Please be aware of the Planning Board policy for public hearings. No new applications will be heard after 9:30 p.m., and no new testimony will be taken after 10 p.m. Hearing assistance is available upon request. Accommodations will be made for individuals with a disability pursuant to the Americans with Disabilities Act, or ADA, provided the individual with the disability provides 48 hours advance notice to the Planning Department Secretary before the public meeting. However, if the individual should require special equipment or services, such as a CART transcriber, 7 days advance notice, excluding weekends and holidays, may be necessary. I'd ask that everyone please rise to salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Probst, could I have a roll call, please?
Chairman Vesio.
I am here.
Mr. Bongiorno.
Here.
Councilwoman Isla. Mr. Pappas. Mr. Magora.
Yes.
Mr. Wang.
Here.
Ms. Sikora. Mr. Banga.
Here.
Ms. Chartowich. Mr. Chowdhury.
Yes.
Mr. Atkins. Mark Peck, Board Attorney.
Here.
Bill Burr, Board Engineer. Catherine Sarmad, Board Planner. You have a quorum. You can proceed.
Thank you, Ms. Probst. At this moment, if there are any members of the public that wish to address the board on any items on the agenda that are not listed on the agenda this evening, please feel free to come forward at this time. Seeing none, moving along. As many of our resolutions are still in pending phase, we're on to our application portion of the evening. And I'd like to just make a quick announcement that the application 26-006-PB from Mark Muller, this is an announcement only that will be carried from 4/21/26, not proceeding tonight. This matter will be carried to 7/7/26 with the receipt of proper notice pending. Any other items for attention, Ms. Probst?
No.
Thank
So
you.
we are not carrying notice for that because
Correct.
we did not notice for this. Okay, very good.
Okay, very good. I'm going to move along, and I'm just going to do a little reshuffling on our agenda this evening. Item number 10 under courtesy review is Pilot Fiber 26001-PB. I'd like to begin with this evening. This is for Pilot Fiber in various locations throughout Bridgewater Township. And who is here to represent and make this review and display this review this evening? Please feel free to come forward.
Good evening. My name is Fred Brody. I am a governmental affairs consultant for Pilot Fiber, and also here is Joe Fasone, the president of the company. And we are here to explain that basically what we're looking to do is to extend. Yes.
Even though this is not a hearing and it's only a courtesy review, I think it'd be best if you just be sworn in.
Oh.
Could you each just raise your right hand? Do you swear that the testimony you're going to give in connection with this proceeding will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. And again, your name is Fred Brody,
Fred, B-R-O-D-Y.
correct?
Joe Fasone, F-A-S-O-N-E.
Okay, now you're clear to proceed.
Okay. So, yeah, so Pilot Fiber is based in New York. They're in the process of building out a network from New York through New Jersey, and actually it's going to be going into Pennsylvania. So what we're doing is we're building out a fiber backbone, which is like, one line of fiber. We're not looking to go all over the municipality with this fiber, dark fiber as it's called. We're just building a backbone that connects the clients of Pilot in a redundant manner. So we look to get these right-of-way agreements. They're required by the owners of the telephone infrastructure, the telephone poles, or conduit, in case, the road is one that's been redeveloped for any reason. There's no telephone poles, then there's adequate conduit that Verizon provides. So it's all using existing infrastructure We're not digging or anything. It's either aerial, and that, I was asked to provide a document that shows what the infrastructure looks like, and it's wires on a pole, and in the telecom space, the top part is power, then the telecom space, and that's where we would be. And again, this agreement is required by the owners of the infrastructure, so we can negotiate and design a route, because that's how they require it. So,
Thank you very much, Mr. Brody, for that initial review. Any comments from Mr. Fasone?
Yeah, I think Fred did a good job of articulating it. You know, we serve 3,500 business customers in New York City. We have a lot of interest from businesses in New Jersey. As Fred mentioned, you know, our right-of-way in the township is all really on existing rights-of-way. So these are PSE&G poles, Verizon conduits. We're not seeking, you know, blanket authority to provide fiber to the home or anything that would be disruptive to the town. It's really, you know, we have subsequent agreements with the county, with the state that allow us to do this in state and county right-of-way, but we do have to get the same approval from every township. So that's why we're here today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fasone. Does that conclude your testimony and your review?
yes.
Okay, at this point, maybe we could open up to the board members here in the day, see if we have any questions. Begin on this side.
How many customers do you have in Bridgewater?
0 today. We don't have authority to operate in Bridgewater today.
Oh, okay. And how, you said this is a backbone, so how much traffic can it handle?
Many terabits per second. You know, the average cable could have anywhere from 144 to 1,728 strands of fiber. Each one is capable of handling thousands of gigabits of traffic. So it's a pretty high number in terms of the fiber capacity.
And how many sites do you plan to have to do some work?
In terms of works?
Well, I'm looking at this picture, and it looks like you got to do something,
Yep.
right? You got to splice into an existing something. So how many of these, I'll call them installs, for lack of a better word, how many installs do you have to do in Bridgewater?
It would probably be feasible to say you'd be anywhere between 25,000 and 100,000 linear feet of fiber, and how many poles that attaches to is, you know, they could be 200 feet apart on average, so that would give you a pretty good range. It would be 500 poles that we're on.
I'm just trying to get at, will there be a disruption in traffic while this happens? Will you need a police presence to monitor or do whatever?
That's subject to town rules. So if your rules say we need a police presence, we will have a police presence. We pay for that presence. We do a traffic mitigation plan. We also have a work zone mitigation plan, but it depends on the road. So some of those are obviously in Bridgewater are going to be state roads. That would be coordinated with state police versus Bridgewater police, et cetera.
I'm still trying to understand how many, you mentioned so many feet of fiber optic cable. Is that what you're doing? You're putting in one long fiber optic cable? So it's only going to be one area, one road that's going to be impacted?
The cable will probably have to zig and zag, as we don't determine exclusively which poles are suitable for our infrastructure. So Verizon or PSE&G could say, this pole is full, so we need you to swing a right and swing a left. And so the cable won't necessarily be a straight line, but we will work with them to make as direct of a route as possible.
Here's a sort of a right field question. If we were to get an application for, say, a data center, would they sign up, or could they sign up for your service?
We sell to enterprises, we sell to other telecommunications carriers, we sell to data center providers. We do have a facility on Frontier Road already. That's not a facility that we own, we rent space in it. But that's a pre-existing data center facility in the town that would probably use our services.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Bongiorno. Any other questions? Mr. Chaudhry,
Oh my goodness, this is a good question for me.
let's hear it.
Thank you. You mentioned about 144, obviously. How many strands? It will be different strands from New York to Pennsylvania, or it will be basically standard strands like a 256 or something?
It'll vary along the route. The average would probably be 864 fibers at any point along the route.
And 854, it will be big cables then.
It's about 1.25 inches. It's pretty small.
And so it's all poles are obviously PSNG or Verizon or anybody else, and these are not designed equally. So you're going to analyze all the poles then, whether it can hold the winds and the snows and all those things?
It's on us to make a proposal, and then it's on them to validate whether they agree that the pole can hold the weight of the cable.
Okay.
It's not a significant amount of weight between the poles because they're only a few hundred feet apart. But if they say this pole needs to be replaced or repaired, or it's better off if you go a different direction,
Right.
they're the ones who guide us in getting the approval to be on the right poles that could support the cable.
And splicing and everything else will be done by your teams with the supervision of either Verizon or PSNG, or who will be the supervisor of the entire fiber layout?
Once we are given the right-of-way by the town, and then once we're getting the attachment permission from either PSE&G or Verizon, then our crews would be doing the work, and we would have police presence for traffic and safety. And then at the end of the work, Verizon and PSE&G, they would come out and inspect our work to make sure it was done to their standards on their property.
And this will be mainly an aerial, no digging for any areas between New York to Pennsylvania?
Well, some areas might require digging, but there's no digging proposed in the town of Bridgewater. In Bridgewater, if there's existing conduit that Verizon says we need to use, we'll use their conduit.
Oh, okay.
It won't need to be new excavation or restoration for what we're trying to do.
And what is the roadmap for how many years of data that you are planning? 100 years or 50 years?
It's probably between 20 and 50, 50 on the high end, 20 on the low end. And that's really, it depends on how much fiber we place in a given area. So in Bridgewater, if you're doing an 864 count cable, you're closer to 50 years. And if you're doing a smaller count cable in, let's say, Vernon Township, and it's 144 fibers, maybe that's guaranteed for 20 years, but the cost is commensurate with the amount of capacity we need.
So if you say in Bridgewater, suppose there's a, suppose there's a 10 customers, I'm sure you'll be happy about that. 10 customer needs at least 6 strands of the fiber, then you obviously gone out of the 60 already there. So do you have a plan for that kind of excess fiber already within 860? That's what you're counting, about 50 years or so, I guess?
Totally sufficient capacity on that cable. And if we needed more fiber in the future, there's various techniques to reuse the existing pole attachments to place new fiber, but hopefully we don't have to do that.
Are you also thinking, even though it is not Bridgewater, using the railway infrastructure for carrying the fiber?
Using railway right-of-way?
Railway infrastructure, the railway poles.
It's tough. It's certainly tough. I mean, a lot of people have done that already, and so there's not actually a lot of latent right-of-way available along the railways. So it's something we would consider on a case-by-case basis, but the design isn't hinging on a railroad providing any sort of right-of-way to us.
So since your company does all the fiber, are you also considering WDM technology for using, instead of the fiber all the way, if the demand exceeds?
Yep. So we use DWDM today across all of our network, and we operate 300 plus miles that we've built over the last 10 years. We serve 1,000 commercial office buildings in New York City, so it's a pretty big network, and every single one of those uses DWDM. So we're very fiber efficient, I will say. We're not trying to just say one fiber.
Right. That's what I was thinking, that you will do it if you use it. Okay. So basically, it will be mostly aerial. Bridgewater is mostly aerials, or all of the Bridgewater distance will be aerial then.
Yeah, I think we can't guarantee it would be entirely aerial. What we could say with near certainty is it's all existing infrastructure, whether it's conduit or poles. That we're not looking to do any digging or restoration of roadways. It's all existing right of way. Yeah.
Okay. And would you also give tap to any residence area if they want it? Although I don't know what residents will do it, but there's no plan. You only tapping to the enterprise.
Yeah, so we don't sell any residential fiber today, but we have a lot of customers who do. And so in the event one of our customers says, we plan to expand to Bridgewater, we're going to get our own subsequent approval from the town, there's probably a way we could sell fiber to them in the future, but that's not really the plan for the network today, and we don't do any residential.
But you are interested to do the enterprise if they're, okay. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Anybody else? Mr. Benga?
Thanks for doing the courtesy review today. I'm sorry, so you said, do you have any clients today in Bridgewater?
Not for our fiber. We have clients on our data center footprint, which is on Frontier Road, but they use what's called lit services today. So Pilot's presence in that facility is using existing fibers from other carriers. Once we have approval, and obviously township approval is actually phase 0, right? There's tons of work, probably 6 months plus of work before we could ever get a cable on a pole from here on out. Once we actually have a firm route committed, then we could start selling to our potential customers, but nothing today.
And you said, so on Frontier Road, you said there's a data center?
Yep.
That's utilizing fiber currently?
Correct. There's tons of fiber going in there today. Yep.
Okay, and then maybe you can just help me understand a little bit. So I know that there's Verizon, there's Optimum, you know, and you had said that this is like a backbone. So is this completely new infrastructure that is kind of being built on top, and this is not piggybacking on the current infrastructure, correct?
Correct. Other than the telephone poles themselves, the networks do not touch. So they are diverse from each other. If somebody says, I want one network that's Verizon and one network that's Pilot, and I want to guarantee that those two networks are totally separate, that's the diversity that we could offer.
Okay. And when you say fiber, that's fiber optics, similar to the Optimum, like similar to Cablevision, that type of fiber optics, right?
I think Cablevision is unique in that a lot of their fiber is, we'll call it, in the middle of their network and not to the customer. Fios would be a good example of a network that's all fiber from end to end. But both of those I would call consumer products, and we operate kind of in a different segment of the market for enterprises, which would be Verizon or Crown Castle would be names that you know, Lightpath, which used to be affiliated with Optimum. These are all companies who do true fiber to the business type offerings, which is what we would do.
So based on the profile of Bridgewater, like what enterprises would you say would subscribe to something like Pilot Fiber?
What's an example of an enterprise?
Like in Bridgewater, for example.
Yeah, Qualcomm right here would be a great example of somebody. The data center facility, which is 365 data centers, Johnson & Johnson, Roche, any of these businesses would be prime candidates for our service.
And just the key difference between what Pilot would drive versus the existing infrastructure, if you can help me there?
Speed of the network, customer experience, the fact that we own it all end to end. We do it all with our own construction crews. We don't outsource anything in the network design or engineering. We're local. A lot of these companies are national presences, and the in-market expertise might be lacking, and everything we do is in the New York City metro area. So that's typically how we compete. And a lot of the businesses, for example, in Bridgewater, they may already be our customers in New York City in their Manhattan offices. So it's a natural expansion point as we expand our network as well.
And you've received written approval from either Verizon, JCP&L, PSE&G with regards to installing it on the actual.
So we have blanket agreements with all three, Verizon, JCP&L, and PSE&G. The blanket agreements cover the overall terms of the relationship, and then those agreements say, here's the process to apply for each individual pole. So we haven't applied for poles in Bridgewater, for example, because we don't have the requisite authority from the township to do so. But as soon as we do, then we'll start applying for those poles. Some will be approved, some will be denied, some will be denied with a caveat that you have to help us clean up this pole before you can use it. And it takes about 90 to 120 days to get the approvals for each pole. But we do have the requisite agreements with all three today.
And then regarding like the township point of contact, who would that be?
That's a great question.
The township point of contact? Well, I've been working with Mike Pappas and his office, because if I may, the usual way that this has been working is that we approach a municipality, we work in conjunction with the business administrator, the township attorney, to approve the agreement, right? Then once the agreement is approved, that's when we can go to the people that own the infrastructure, as Joe said, and we negotiate the route that way. And then we're responsible to pay for the attorney review, engineer review, and the police safety detail if that's required. So in other words, this doesn't cost the municipality anything.
And I would also just add that, as a state-regulated utility, we have the requisite authority with the state and with the county. And so the Bridgewater Authority is really only for township-maintained right-of-way. So if it's already in a state right-of-way or county right-of-way, we would be working with them to permit those roads, working with the utility owners to permit those poles, and they wouldn't necessarily need township authority. But to the extent we get off a county road and we're on a township road, that's really where this right-of-way is.
Yeah, we have the agreement with Somerset County in place, and there's no agreement, so to speak, necessary for the state roads because the state issued our authority.
Yeah. So it's just unique to Bridgewater because you have so many state roads in your township, so just worth flagging that as well.
You've been through the BPU,
Yes.
and you said you have approximately 500 poles that you could foresee doing in Bridgewater?
I think it's a good estimate, yeah.
Just a reminder to everyone, this is a courtesy review, so the process will not involve an official approval at the end. It's not the board's jurisdiction here to actually approve any application this evening. You're here to actually listen, provide commentary and ask questions regarding the pilot fiber installation here. I've got a couple myself here. So when I heard this, there was a fiber backbone, I said to myself, okay, we're going to be digging, we're going to need backhoes in town. But then when I saw that this is on a pole, understandably, it's not a transmission or a pass-through. This seems to be an installation that's going to essentially be used for a future use, whether it's data center, whether it's small business. Just a quick understanding. You've obviously seen the township map, and you have an idea of where this is going to be installed. Could you give us kind of like a high-level overview? Is this going to be an installation on major corridors, or how would this work as far as some of the residential areas? Are these on major roads, county roads? Where could we foresee the installation of the pilot fiber?
I think it's going to vary. Again, some of that is up to us in terms of, the ideal distance for fiber is as short as possible, right? The longer the fiber mileage, the more signal, the more light you have to send at the near side to reach the other side, the more risk that the fiber could be broken or damaged by a tree limb or a car hitting a pole, et cetera. So we don't want to be taking a long route, through the township if that's what we're proposing. Now, doing that could be, hey, a state route could be the best option, but the poles on the state route could be the most congested. So really, it's going to vary by the pole condition, and we don't want to deviate as much as possible. We want to, again, travel in that straight line. So it's hard to say without understanding the conditions of all the poles. But the most recent builds have mostly all gone down 202. That's historical precedent, but the poles now on 202, as you've seen, there's a lot of cables on those poles, right? So the condition is questionable, I would say, as to whether or not another cable could be permitted.
Okay. Are these going to be single lines that are being installed, or is there any plans for redundancy, line redundancy, or is that something that's going to be considered down the road?
Down the road, I think initially getting one cable up would be the goal, but most customers, that do want fully diverse services where, you have two diverse paths where those cables never cross. Sometimes they want two separate providers. Sometimes they're saying, I would love Pilot to do both. And in those cases, we would need a diverse line, but getting one pole up would be great.
Okay. And you mentioned already that you'd be providing services to some of the existing businesses here in Bridgewater. Would you be up to providing services to small businesses as well? And when I say small business, I mean 100 employees and fewer?
Yeah, that's a large percentage of our business in New York City. So of the 3,500 plus business customers we have, I would imagine a good, almost probably a majority would fall into that 100 or less category. Any modern business, we'll call it 5 employees or more, might require a dedicated fiber service, especially if they're in a large bandwidth environment like architecture, post-production, professional services, you name it. So you've seen a huge rise in bandwidth requirements where previously these smaller businesses wouldn't have been target customers for a company like Pilot, but over the last 5 years,
Right.
The average number of employees has trended down as more bandwidth is needed.
You mentioned earlier, what was that number of terabytes that could be transmitted on the line?
Terabits, and it's
Terabits.
thousands, thousands of terabits, which is a number that if we keep using DWDM, which is converging multiple signals onto the same line at different wavelengths, that number could theoretically infinitely increase. So
What does, or at what point do you achieve maximum saturation on this type of line? How many approximately data centers or businesses would, or how many terabits would you have to arrive to before you hit? Is there an 80/20 rule there? At what point do you require upgrading the line?
It would be a raw number of strands that are sold. That's kind of, once you're out of strands, you're out of strands. A large majority of the strands that we light ourselves, where we're providing the electronics, those are going to use DWDM. The capacity is virtually infinite, right? But if somebody says, I'll use a random example, Johnson & Johnson, if they wanted 12 strands of fiber and I only had 12 strands left on the cable, once I'm out, I will need more strands. But it's not typical for a customer to be buying bulk fiber like that. It's typically 2 fibers at a time or a wavelength on a individual pair of fibers.
Understood. Slightly along the same lines, but a different question. What is the service life of the cable? So not talking about capacity at this point, what's the actual service life of the cable? At what point would it require replacement or upgrade? At what point? What are we looking at? Yeah.
So we have, I guess anecdotally, we have fiber placed in the 80s, not that we placed, but fiber that people have placed in the 80s that's still in service today.
Right.
So it's only been 40 years, but it's still kicking, right? So we could feasibly presume with better fiber, better jackets, better installation, everything we've learned in the last 40 years, that today's cables could last longer than 40 years, but that's the historical precedent we have to go off of, right?
Okay. And the last quick question here, is there anything that would prevent you from working with the municipality for any particular cases when it comes to small businesses, any types of installations that need patching into?
No, we encourage the collaboration. I think we have a lot of flexibility perhaps where other larger organizations don't. So if there are needs of the township or needs of constituents that are unique, that haven't gotten attention from other telecom providers, we're happy to help in any way we can.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Fasone. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. How do clients access your service? Do they have to be wired in, or there are hotspots? How does that work?
Yep, we would have to extend what's called a drop from the pole to their business. So typically, not pictured on this particular pole in our proposal, there's what's called a riser that comes off the pole, and that goes underground to their office building. And we would place a new cable down that riser, under their lawn, into their office building, and it's a physical wire.
So there are no Bluetooth connections or hotspots that clients could tap into?
Nope. They would bring their own Wi-Fi. We would be the wire, they would provide the wireless. Yeah.
Say our EMS people wanted part of the service, how would you charge them?
How would we charge them? Typically, you would tell us the bandwidth that you would need. Those bandwidth tiers have different pricing from 100 megabit to 100 gigabits, and then we have a pilot for nonprofits program. So typically, they would be eligible for a discount up front because they're a nonprofit business.
So do people typically ask for a particular line themselves where they control it? Is that normal? Like if, you were setting up an office somewhere and you ordered like a T2 line or something, is that something that you do?
T2 is a copper term, but we certainly, yes, if a company says we need a 1 gigabit line, that's the most common. The company typically requests that. Our team will validate the requirement, saying, 1 gigabit either sounds small or it sounds like a lot of bandwidth for your organization. What's driving that need? We always make sure that they get the right service for them. But again, the same cable can do 100 megabits to 100 gigabits. So it's really a matter of making sure that the company or the organization is choosing the right size of line for them. And I say line, but it's actually the same size cable, no matter what. That doesn't change depending on what bandwidth they use. And all of the bandwidth can be upgraded or downgraded remotely. So it's not really a limiting factor.
Just one last question. The data that goes across, it's in packets? Thank you.
One final question.
Mr. Chowdhury.
Yes, thank you. Would you be needing any repeaters within this 300 miles?
Because we have the facility on Frontier Road, if we ever needed to do any amplification, it would probably be at our existing
Oh, the
facility
Frontier Road
or
has it?
outside of the township.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to hear from our board professionals. How about from our planner, Ms. Sarman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just so the board's aware, Mr. Brody is exactly right. He contacted the township. It got filtered through the land use office. He did provide a lot of information that clarified what Pilot Fiber does and what they're seeking to do, provided their BPU approval, provided boilerplate rights of way use agreements, et cetera. And this step is not required. The planning board courtesy review, I had recommended, based on previous board actions on, Verizon, small cell antennas and things like that, that they come for the courtesy review, even though it is very different from the Verizon one in that the Verizon was a pole-specific agreement, right? It was a different technology, a different impact, right? But regardless, this step I thought was important for these good questions, and in particular because even though this board is not taking action, the council is the one who would be entering into the rights of way use agreement, which would then allow Pilot Fiber to utilize and to, put the cable in township-owned right-of-ways. So I think this discussion was very good. I think that any commentary, and I think in particular the ones about construction, about traffic, about police and safety and traffic control, those are all things that are going to get put into that rights-of-way agreement. As they noted, they will pay for those services, they will coordinate, they will be required to in order to, in conjunction with that agreement, to abide by those terms. And again, the township attorney will be the one who will be working on getting that agreement put together. The council will be the one who will authorize execution of that. But I think either way, it was good that this board, I think you all had very good questions to walk through it. But I just wanted to make you aware of kind of where the process lies and where it's going, and kind of the history here. So, but again, this is a good step in that you all got to ask questions, but not necessarily one that was necessary, just good for transparency and for questions.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sarmat. Board Engineer, Mr. Burr.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of quick questions. So as you guys look to expand into New Jersey, how would you describe, I guess, the current state of that expansion? Is this at the infant stages? Are you already through this right-of-way agreement process with several of the adjacent towns? Just give us a flavor of where things stand overall.
Yes, so we today have not only our state authority, I want to say we have 6 county authorities and 13 other municipalities as of today. And in January, we made our first acquisition of an existing cable system that goes from Manhattan under the Hudson River through Hudson and Bergen counties, which gives us our first 50 miles of that network. That acquisition will close in a couple of weeks, and subject to BPU approval, which we don't expect any problems with. But that is the initial leg, right? 50 miles is a significant head start into the expansion, and so we will be building aggressively off of that network kind of southwest, and we have basically every municipal consent to start designing and engineering and permitting that route.
Okay. And does that include Bridgewater as far as being part of that initial 50-mile route, or is that a next?
No, the 50 fiber miles is mostly concentrated in Weehawken, Jersey City, North Bergen, Secaucus, et cetera.
So this is, you're just planning for future expansion.
Correct.
And do you have other municipalities already agreed to in this immediate vicinity? Or is
Yeah, we have
Bridgewater one of the-
Somerville, right?
Yeah.
Somerville, I think, would be the closest.
So you've already met with some other towns in the area?
Correct.
Oh, yeah.
And you had mentioned the final route of the fiber is still to be determined based on coordination with whoever owns the various poles, whether it's Verizon, JCP&L, PSE&G. But do you have kind of an A to B goal of where you need to get to, or where you're coming from to where you need to get through Bridgewater? Can you give us any sense of where you're trying to run, or is that still to be determined?
Still to be determined, but I think based on our existing presence at 999 Frontier, that would be a stopping point for sure. And we would want to stop there and continue going. So that's it's ironically right around the corner from here. So that's one easy place where we say, we know as we come into the town, we'll want to hit Frontier on one side and continue past it. But nothing else is necessarily a set in stone rule for the design. Yeah.
And just to reiterate some of the other questions I heard, at this point in time, you have no plans to require new pole installations or any underground connections. Your plan right now is to utilize existing infrastructure. Is that the way it's shaped out in other municipalities, or have you run into a snag where all of a sudden you're like, shoot, we need a dozen new poles? And
If we needed new poles, they were replacements in kind, where Verizon replaced a pole that was failing, and the only reason they knew about it was because we went out to survey it, and it was going to be replaced in the next 5 years anyway, but it was replaced in kind.
And last question, are any of the other municipalities you're working in requiring road opening permits or street opening permits as part of the actual work effort once you get to construction?
It depends. We've actually, I think, successfully navigated away from road opening permits more often than not, depending on where the poles are. And because we're not actually doing any excavation, and many of the proposed areas were set pretty far off the right-of-way, that so long as we follow the town's rules and traffic safety plans, permits, the road opening permit in particular, in a lot of townships came with additional engineering review, planning review, where it was primarily meant for things that required excavation and not for this off the roadway type work that was aerial. So,
But the bottom line is, even if the road opening permit process isn't the appropriate mechanism, you're going to work with the municipality.
oh yeah, whatever the
Once
rule
route
is,
is
yeah.
finalized, we're going to sit down and go through it all, because quite often we do have utility work come into town. We're not told about it. It doesn't happen often. It's pretty well under control. But occasionally, somebody comes in, does work, there's a traffic issue, and we don't know that it was taking place, or we can't respond to the appropriate folks. So we really need to coordinate the effort and make sure that there aren't going to be traffic impacts, et cetera. But sounds like you're on top of that, and you're gonna work with the town.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing in this process, and Fred can attest, is articulating to the various municipalities what we're not doing is really important. And so I know there was a comment about prior board matters with small cells. We do not do any small cells. We are not in the small cell business. We do not want to be in the small cell business. And so Fred can tell you, with one municipality, we spent 6 months trying to, in every way, shape, or form, disclaim that we were doing small cells. And so a lot of it is just, making sure we're doing a good job of articulating what is and isn't happening, and making sure that is done to the township standards and liking. So.
And I can stay on the right side of Congressman Pappas.
Any final commentary from the board? Okay, very good. Mr. McGore, anything?
No comments. Good.
Very good. Okay, well, Mr. Brody, Mr. Fasson, thank you very much for that review, very comprehensive. Thank you for answering the questions, taking the time to come before our board. Thank you for coordinating with our board planner, Ms. Sarmed, and we look forward to seeing the service shortly within Bridgewater. All right, take care, and good luck. Okay, moving along this evening, back to item 8, our applications. We have one, and that's application 25025PB for PSENG, Block 347, Lot 101, South Plemus Lane. Who is here this evening to represent this applicant? And who are you, sir?
Most of the time, I'm Glenn Keynes, K-I-E-N-Z. I'm from the Wiener Law Group. I've appeared on other applications for public service in the municipality.
I believe I recall that.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's bad. Just before we start, a few things. We brought a stenographer.
Okay.
That'll create the record, so if you don't want to do minutes, we'll provide a full transcript. However you want to do it, just let us know,
Very good.
and we'll get you that.
Yeah, I believe that's a definite for the board secretary.
Now she likes us a little bit, right? Second thing is, I think everything was in order. We were deemed complete. You got all the information for notice.
Notice looked good, the affidavit looked good.
Thank you very much. And in spite of having the whole Tabernacle Choir from Utah here, I have 2 witnesses tonight on this application.
Very good.
I have a planner and I have a civil engineer. We have tried to pre-mark exhibits. I will give you some brief preliminary comments to try and make this clearer and more simple. I've also had the chance to talk to both of your professionals. We have their reports. We can respond to those reports on an as-needed basis. But I guess what I really should start out by saying is that the application before you is as a result of Hurricane Ida. Ida beat up this facility pretty badly. Our feet got wet, our equipment actually got wet, and it created a need for us to, we used the term harden the facility to make sure that that doesn't happen in the future. This facility has been in existence since about 1960 in one form or another. Some of the equipment, actually, I was told at dinner tonight, is actually old, and you might even see it in an antique museum at some point, which means that it has certainly outlived its usefulness, and it's time for us to replace that. We are, in essence, replacing many of the things on the site, but what we really have to do is elevate it, because DEP changed their standards as to what level you have to be above mean flood elevation. We are doing that. We had our own standard. It happens that our own standard was very similar to what DEP required, but across the state, we've been in a process of trying to harden, dry up, make sure the feet stayed dry, these sites. So we are now before you to do that here. This is not expanding the use. I mean, we will have additional capability, but it's not like we're putting a whole new substation in to provide for a whole nother neighborhood or something like that. Previous applications indicated, and I think Noreen would confirm this, that we had about 15,000 residential customers, along with about 5,000 commercial customers using or working through this facility. The lights in this room are because of this facility. The lights at the stadium are because of the facility. The lights at the mall, Bridgewater Commons, are because of this facility. So all we're trying to do is improve it. There's a fence right now around the entire site. That fence, as a result of some additional requirements, is going to be replaced by a new kind of fence that is less likely to be intruded upon, I guess is the best way. The fence does encompass the entire site. It does, as I was talking to your engineer, some of the fence improvements are actually in the steep slopes. That's the only work, except for a small thing that Noreen might talk about, that's the only work that we're doing in the steep slopes. The rest of it is all on the existing site. Now, you know, it's funny when you go through life, you try and think of analogies to try and bring home to everyone what it is that we're doing, why we got dressed up to come here before you. And if I could use this, it's the best one I could come up with. Just picture yourself moving in to a home, you're living there now, and you look at the kitchen, and you say, oh my goodness, some of the equipment in the kitchen is getting pretty old. The microwave is 30 years old, and the refrigerator is X number of years old, and the wall oven, oh, the burners don't even light up. And then you have the countertop stove, and that's not working so well. Essentially what we are doing is replacing that kitchen equipment on this site. It's a little more complicated than that, but that's the best analogy I could give you, and I'll get personal about it. That's what we just had to do in the townhouse that my wife and I moved into. So it was a pretty easy analogy for me. That's the application. The site is fully developed. We're improving it. We're going to improve the resiliency. That's it. With that, as an attorney, I should just shut up and get my witnesses up here. So I'll bring Noreen, who's appeared on a number of occasions before this board and your sister board. So if she'll come up and bring her notes. I would also, while she's coming up, note that we did receive all of your professionals' reports. And as I said, we did have a chance to briefly talk with them about it. So, Noreen, can we get you sworn in, please?
You swear that the testimony you're going to give in connection with this hearing will be the truth and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Could you state and then spell your last name?
My name is Noreen, N-O-R-E-E-N. Oh, sorry.
Can she, did you say she can sit? Why don't you sit and then you can hop up on the mat? And keep that one in case you go to the big board.
Good evening. My name is Noreen, Noreen, last name Merainer, Merainer. I'm a licensed professional planner in the state of New Jersey, and my license is current. My employer is Public Service Electric and Gas Company. The address is 4000 Hadley Road, South Plainfield, New Jersey, 07080. I've been with PSE&G for 28 years, and my title is Licensing Project Manager. What that means is I'm responsible for securing land use and environmental permits for company facilities. Prior to working with PSE&G, I worked 10 years as an environmental planner with a local engineering and environmental consulting firm.
And you're a licensed professional planner in the state of New Jersey?
Yes, I am.
And your license is valid as of tonight?
Yes, it is.
And have you been accepted as a licensed professional planner before other boards and accepted as an expert in the field?
I have.
And have they also accepted you as knowing a fair amount of what public service, electric and gas does based on all the projects that you've done with them in the past?
Yes, and I've testified before this board before. I was here in 2018 and 2022 for our North Bridge Street substation, which is on Route 22 and, well, North Bridge Street, which is not very far from here.
And you're sure it's on North Bridge Street?
Yes, it is.
Okay, good, good. All right, are you familiar, any questions on her qualifications?
The board has no objections to the qualification.
Are you familiar with the development regulations for Bridgewater Township?
I am.
And this station is located in what zone?
This station is located in the M2 General Manufacturing Zone. That zone allows essential services, which public utilities are.
Okay, and what are we requesting tonight? You heard my summary. Did I mess it up too badly?
Not very badly.
Oh, good. You don't know how big a compliment that is from her.
This is my favorite part. What happened at this station during Hurricane Ida? Now, officially,
Officially, we have to mark it. I'm sorry, Mark. I'll try and watch for you popping your head through the door. How's that?
this will be exhibit number 1. What I have for you are some photographs taken the night of the storm and immediately thereafter. And we also have, I'll give this to Vanna White over here. We have pictures to hand out to the board.
What are these pictures? Is it the same ones on the board?
Yes. What these photos are,
All right, let's hold up now. Let's get that board up, and we've marked that as what?
That was A1.
All right. And it's on there.
Please do, sure.
Thank you very much.
no, I did not. Actually, our substation mechanics took these.
Have you been to the site, and do these pictures actually represent what was there?
These do. So I will explain. Hurricane Ida became a tropical storm once it hit New Jersey. That was September 1st and 2nd, 2021. The official name of the storm is remnants of Tropical Storm Ida. So what had happened the night of the storm is we had troubleshooters or union employees who were trying to get inside the station to shelter the night of the storm. They were unable to get into the station. They went into Olhemus Lane to the entranceway, and there was about 2 feet of water there. What happened is the motorized gate was not opening. So what they had to do was get out of their vehicles and personally go clear the gate of debris and then go in. This is the photograph that they took from the driver's seats. So you can see how high the water was
Like by the photograph, she's pointing to the top left one, which is also the same one on your sheets that we handed out. Go ahead.
Now, I have a personal affinity for this because that same night, I was part of a volunteer team with PSE&G in the Somerset County OEM office. So we were monitoring the boards showing what customers were out and what were any problems with the station. So at our station is Polhemus Lane substation. The transformer failed. Did not know why at the time. But like everyone in Bridgewater, we saw the extent of the storm damage in the next couple of days. So going clockwise, I'd like to show you how high the water got at the station control houses. You can see a watermark on the buildings. In fact, as I continue around, you can see the dirt that ended up at the station. And my particular favorite, which is kind of in the middle on the left-hand side, is the condition of our control house. Dirty water and a floating box. This is what we experienced. Now, certainly, you may recall in Bridgewater Township, there was a lot of damage. You remember what happened on Route 22. Cars essentially were stranded and abandoned, generally in the area from Mountain Avenue all the way over to North Bridge Street. You, of course, remember the poor lady who was at the dealership on Route 22 and was swept away by the storm. You, of course, know the homeowners who were flooded by Hurricane Ida.
Okay, let's go to this building now, since this is part of the application. This building is one of the ones that we seek to replace, is that correct?
That is correct.
And we're going to elevate it, is that correct?
Yes.
And you talked about troubleshooters. Let's cover them while we're talking about them. We have troubleshooters that are on this site when? How does that work?
The troubleshooters are at the station. There's one during the day and one during the night. Troubleshooters are union employees who are stationed at the site. What they do is they come into the site, park their personal cars, and take a company bucket truck or company vehicle and go about their day. Their shift is a 12-hour day, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So one's there in the day, one's there in the night. There are some cases where we have 2 troubleshooters there during the day and 2 during the night. And what we do is we keep vans and utility trucks parked at the station so they can easily go to tasks for maintenance. Now, our Central Division headquarters is located on 472 Weston Canal Road in Franklin, Somerset County, 5 miles south of here. But if you're on 287, it's not always a quick journey. So that's why we do have people here at the station.
All right, are those the only people that are at the station?
Correct. What happens is for most of the equipment, we just have substation mechanics come once or twice a week. What they do is they come in a light-duty pickup truck or a minivan. They come into the station entrance, which is on Polhemus Lane. They use the card reader and an ID badge to come in. They enter the motorized gate, park next to the equipment, do their checks, and then leave. We do have some control houses at the site, and there is a bathroom there for their convenience. I'd just like to go back to the troubleshooters. The troubleshooters building, which, near as I can tell, was built in the late 1960s, and I used historic aerials to determine this. Troubleshooters building is in the far eastern portion of the site. It is actually in the floodway of Cuckles Brook. How did this happen? In your application packages, I provided photographs of the station. Cuckles Brook does not look like much of anything. What we all found out during this storm, that water really has a lot of power. In 2007, the Federal Emergency Management Agency designated the floodway of Cuckles Brook, and lo and behold, our building's in the floodway. It is time and past to get that building out of there. In fact, what we are going to do is take out the control houses that are in tan and move things as far away from Cuckles Brook as possible. So the reporting building, also known as troubleshooters building, out of the floodway, elsewhere on the site. Control buildings elsewhere on the site. So what we are doing is rearranging the existing equipment and elevating it. 2 years after this storm, in June of 2023, NJDEP promulgated rules dictating how to define a floodplain. Lo and behold, almost the entire station is now in a floodplain. What does PSE&G typically do? We elevate. After Hurricane Sandy, we elevated dozens of our stations above floodplains. Now this one's in a floodplain. We're elevating it. The other choices were, we could put a wall around it. Well, that's maybe good for us. Maybe not so great for the other industrial users down on Polhemus Lane. Another thing you could do, you could abandon the station. However, this has been here since 1960. Millions of dollars of investment and ratepayer money went into this. We're not abandoning it. We're fixing it. We're elevating it. And we're moving buildings and equipment around to protect it in the future.
What other buildings are we, as long as you got that exhibit up, what other buildings are being raised up?
The control houses that are here in tan, out. They're going over here, and it'll be one big building. The other things that we're elevating are equipment. We have switchgear that is being elevated and transformers that are being elevated.
This is to ensure that there's no break in service. Although, as it happens, because we have redundancy, there was no break in service, but that's not how we operate. Is that correct?
We managed to dry out the station, and what we decided to do after Hurricane Ida is we said, how high do we have to elevate? So we actually went to the watermark and we said, let's try to elevate a foot above that. By the time the NJDEP regulations came by in 2 years, turns out that is the proper elevation. So that's what we're doing. Everything gets elevated. And the reason this is important is because this facility provides a lot of energy to the surrounding municipality. We have 10,000 plus customers, and we don't count them as the residential or commercial. They're customers to us. They are served by the Polhemus Lane substation, which is on this facility. Also, this station connects to a ring of other substations in the area, and that serves another 7,700 customers. So we're connecting to Northbridge Street in Bridgewater, to Findern Substation on Findern Avenue in Bridgewater that is going down towards Manville. We're connecting to Boundbrook Substation, which is in Middlesex Borough. And we're connecting to Somerville Substation, which is in Somerville on Route 206 South. So the customers we serve, the largest ones are pharmaceutical, biomedical, and financial companies in Bridgewater, as well as a water utility, which you can guess their name.
And a ball stadium. Let's not forget that. Okay, so let's stay in the bill. I'm trying to do this in a little bit of a logical order while responding at the same time to comments that were in your professionals' reports. Do we have fire suppression systems in these buildings? How do we deal with fire on site, and how do we discuss things with the fire department?
We have fire suppression. Also, what happens?
Is it water?
No, it is not. Because we don't put fires out who are not compliant. We do have fire hydrants in the station on the main access road that has been here since the 1960s. The main access road stretches from Polhemus Lane going east all the way across the station. What would happen in a local emergency or a fire situation is PSE&G would meet the first responders at the gate, and we would escort them inside the station. If absolutely necessary, we would de-energize the station before fire fighting apparatus moved into the station.
Do you have a halon system? Do you have a halon system?
Not to my knowledge.
You said there was fire suppression, not water. What is it?
The fire suppression, as I understand it, is in our control house, and I will leave it to our civil engineer to explain more.
The answer is it's a chemical system. Yes.
How many buildings are you going to be moving, and what is the exact height that you're going to raise them?
Some of them are not buildings. So I'll try to explain. We're replacing a capacitor battery, and that will replace an old capacitor battery. That's a piece of equipment. The control building, because of the plans that they're all going, and we'll have one new one. We are getting rid of the troubleshooting building, and we will have one store. We have 26 kV switchgear and 13 kV switchgear. And this is those will be.
Outside. They're outside in the elements.
Yes, they are.
Okay, go ahead.
They're outside now, and they'll be outside tomorrow, too.
Okay, so so far it's 2 buildings.
Yes. So when we say building, all walls and a roof, it's essentially a control building and a troubleshooting. Everything else is equipment. Certain things we need not worry about. Lightning masts. We have 85-foot high lightning masts that are there now. We will bring away them because they have to be there to provide more protection over the electrical equipment. Lightning masts. Does it matter? Not really. It's the transformers we're concerned about. It's the switchgear we're concerned about.
All that's going to be raised as well.
Yes.
And what's the height of the buildings going to be?
I will let our civil engineer deal with that. Our troubleshooters building and the control house will be about a story. Now, you recall that there is no height restriction for public utilities at this zone.
Is that a question?
No, I was mentioning.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Ms. Moraner. You
that
can
was a
proceed with
polite
your
remark.
original testimony. We'll have any other questions answered by the engineer when it comes to the structures. I think at that point it'll be more appropriate.
I'd also like to explain what we're doing with the exterior. We have an 8-foot high fence that surrounds this facility. This is what it's made of. This is a non-conductive fiberglass material. Seemed like a great idea a decade ago. However, the world has changed, security standards have changed. So we instead will be using 8-foot high, anti-cut, anti-climb fence in the ground. This you cannot easily climb. The existing fence, you can get fingers in this. This can be cut. No good. This is what we're going to use. However, not in the area of Cuckles Brook. Cuckles Brook is quite interesting because it actually restricts us using a corner of the property. This is the northeast corner. Cuckles Brook cuts through diagonally. Cuckles Brook also has freshwater wetlands associated with it, a floodway, and a riparian area. We have never touched those areas. Right now, there is one distribution line over the wetlands, but otherwise, we have not touched this area. We have spoken with NJDEP about this application, and I have filed an application for this project with NJDEP. NJDEP told us from the beginning, you change the fence by Cuckles Brook, we may not allow that. So we are leaving the fiberglass fence right along the frontage with Cuckles Brook. What we are also going to do to protect the transformers, and there are 4 transformers currently at the station, and we will have 4 in the future, we are putting isolation walls around the transformers. This is to protect the transformers, but it also has an added benefit. It actually obscures views into the station. For any of you who have been here, you know that the station is on Polhemus and East Main Street. As you go down Polhemus Lane, you know that there are some fairly heavy-duty uses there. The Somerset Raritan Valley Sewage Commission, all the way at the end, also the Somerset County Recycling Facility. We are right at the intersection. And I apologize for not mentioning before, but to our south is the Conrail Railroad, which is also used by New Jersey Transit's Raritan Valley commuter line. On the west side is Polhemus Lane, and beyond that is another Conrail line. I believe that one may go all the way up past Route 22 to the Stavola Corner. Across the northern side, you have East Main Street. There are some commercial establishments on the northern side of East Main Street. And you do have one residential townhome, which is located to the southwest. But generally, if you've been here, you've seen the truck rumbling down Polhemus Lane. So when we have redone the fence and put in the transformer walls, I think you'll find that a lot of the station will be obscured. So I'd like to introduce some more exhibits, if possible. And I have photos for all of you, if you would like to see them.
Yes, please.
BA2?
Thank you very much, sir.
As you go down Polhemus Lane, this is the current entrance to our station. That entrance will remain. However, you can see on the bottom the proposed view where we have the new fence and transformer walls. If you compare the two, you'll see that a lot of the equipment is now obscured. I have some more photos for you, but I need my assistance.
This is being marked as A3.
This is A3. What's existing is on top. What's proposed is on the bottom. This is if you were on East Main Street, looking right into the station. This is what you see. What we're also doing,
That's just for the board, that's the fourth sheet in the packet that I handed out.
what you can see on the proposed view, you can see the new,
Can you speak directly into the mic?
you can see the new anti-cut, anti-climb fence, and you can see concrete there. What you also can see is some new landscaping. Our concern was to put landscaping on East Main Street because that's generally where people are passing by. So we thought that's what people would want to see more of, more landscaping. Because as our plans show, what we're doing is bumping out the front fence of our station 260 feet by 13 feet. There is already a
Bumping it out 260 feet closer or 200?
Oh, I'm sorry, 13 feet closer, 260 feet wide.
Okay.
There's already a landscape berm at this facility. We'll be cutting into it, so we're moving the landscape berm closer to East Main Street. But we think this provides a better opportunity for the community because this way views of the station are obscured.
Now, along with that, you have a landscaping plan and a tree replacement plan. We're willing to provide any funds that are necessary as a result of the landscaping alterations that we're making on the site. Is that correct, Maureen?
That is correct. Here's another view of it, and this will be Exhibit A4. This is if you were looking right at the corner into our station. So if you would, compare what we have at the top. Lots of A-frames, lots of equipment. What do you get after this improvement? A lot of this is blocked, less clutter for people to see. The last board that I wish to show you will be marked A5. What this is showing is
And that's the second page of your handout.
what this is showing is views of
I
the
apologize.
Looks like the
that's
first page,
page.
yeah.
My bad. First page of your handout.
You just can't get good help these days. This is showing what it would look like if you were coming up from the sewage treatment plant or the recycling facility. The rails that you see here, these are the Conrail tracks and also the New Jersey Transit tracks. If you're looking right into here, what we have right now are 17 Leland cypresses that were planted about a decade ago under a previous project. Security standards have changed. Our fence has changed. The world has changed. We can no longer have plantings inside the station. This violates Section 11 of the National Electric Safety Code. Also, for security, we cannot have these trees here. We propose to take these out. And frankly, there's no one who really benefits from these trees. The truck drivers, the county property, I think it's better to take these trees out, put them in front of the station. What we can't plant in front of the station, we will contribute to the township's tree fund. That way, trees will actually benefit someone. How about the variances that
Well, do we have any other site improvements or site issues that we need to discuss? You think you covered them?
I think I covered it.
The lighting is staying the same, so that's a non-issue, right?
Yes. I can tell you what's in the troubleshooters building if you're interested, but that might be somewhat superfluous. What I'd like to then discuss is the types of variances that we need.
Well, why don't we take a moment, actually, and based on testimony given in the last 10, 15 minutes, let's see if there are any questions based on here on out before we move to the variances. With that, I'll open it up.
This may be a variance, Catherine. Is there a pre-existing non-conforming issue with the 8-foot fence?
I believe that the 8-foot fence is actually permitted for public utility uses. So the fence height is treated differently for essential services, public utilities, rather than the normal fences for commercial and residential properties. You're welcome.
Anybody else?
Yeah, let me ask a quick question.
Audrey.
Do you have any, obviously you will have to have a disaster recovery plan because, suppose this plant, when it was basically, almost like a destroyed or not working conditions, does the feed can come from, what do you call the other stations near 287?
I'm not sure I understand the question, sir.
Okay, so obviously, you probably have made the design for some 100 years flood or 200 years flood or something like that when you were proposing for the new building or the height. So in case of a problem comes in, there's obviously IDA, Sandy, those type of things will happen again. So in that case, if this is basically incapacitated, then do you have a plan to automatically recover from the other stations?
Yes. Yes. What I think you're referring to is, do we have a redundant system? And yes, we do. In this particular case, this station, the transmission lines come out south of the station, and they actually connect to Middlesex County as well as Hillsborough This station actually is connected to Branchburg Switching Station in Branchburg on Route 202. It's also connected to the east to Greenbrook Switching Station, which is generally at the intersection of Warrenville and Route 22. And we do have redundancy, so if a transformer goes down, another station will pick up the load.
Yeah. And the tree that you're removing, you're basically putting in front of a station, or you're just removing it at all? How many trees? Does I see only one tree. How many trees you are removing it?
We have a landscape architect. What we are doing is putting 9 trees and shrubbery in the front of the station.
Okay.
Any trees we cannot compensate for, it'll be the tree fund. We had to be very careful with this because we do have overhead weight.
But frankly, to answer your question also, if your professionals say, we think you're wrong, we think you should put in 2 more trees, or 5 more trees here, we'll be happy to work with you. And we think this is a good plan, but if your professionals don't agree, we think that's, as long as they don't intrude upon the station.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. If our professionals have any questions at this point? Ms. Sarmat, anything related to the shrubbery or the tree removal?
No, I don't have any questions right now. No,
Thank you.
Covered most of it. Thank you.
Great.
May I?
Please, Mr. Burr.
Noreen, the exhibit you just went over, A2 through A5, if I look at A4 and A5, which I think is the Main Street and Paul Hamas Lane view, and then the Main Street view, I know you described the difference between the existing and proposed, but can you just quickly go over it again? Because they look, other than the isolation walls being superimposed on the proposed, are there any other changes? I feel like you were describing landscaping being moved closer, a berm being moved closer.
Believe it or not, the landscape berm was required. The landscape berm was required by former township planner Scarlett Doyle, as you know, very interested in landscaping. So we are moving that berm forward. But mostly what you're seeing is the isolation wall and this new fence. And I will defer to our landscape architect, who can tell you more about the types of trees that we will be planting.
Well, they're shown on the plan.
They are shown on the plan.
And just one follow-up question. So the existing berm, is it landscaped now with mature plants? So then they'll be removed, and then it's going to be moved and replanted?
Yes.
Okay. And your prior testimony was then, other than, I guess, 1 or 2 troubleshooters.
Troubleshooters.
I have a couple troublemakers at home right now. I'm trying to make sure they're behaving. Other than the 1 or 2 troubleshooters that may be on site at, I guess, 12-hour intervals?
Yes,
Is this otherwise an unmanned facility?
correct.
It is, and it's all remotely monitored. And
Correct.
is there at least 1 troubleshooter on site at all times, or do they bounce from station to station?
They mostly stay at the station, but they do bounce around as needed.
And you had mentioned, last question is the motorized gate that failed during Ida. There's we may hear this from another witness, but the motorized gate that's proposed as a replacement on this project, how do you prevent those failures on this new project?
I guess we pray that we don't have a storm like Ida. But this was a problem because the transformer had gone out, and the provisions we made, we have, this gets a little technical, but the things that operate and the thing that keeps the equipment up and going is called a station light and power transformer. That's what keeps essentially lights on in buildings and things like that. We even have an emergency generator at the site that powers things up. However, with a catastrophic storm, with about 21 inches of water in the station, this is going to happen.
But the plan is to elevate
Elevate.
those critical facilities so that hopefully
Yes.
it doesn't happen again.
Exactly so.
Thank you.
Hopefully DEP has come up with the correct numbers that we agree with, and it avoids that.
Use that mic.
We have 32 people watching on the live stream, and if you do not speak into a microphone, they cannot hear you, nor does our recorder pick up.
My bad.
You must speak into the microphone.
I was trying to talk loud, and that wasn't good enough, so I apologize.
It does not matter, you have to be using your microphone.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you.
Um,
Are there any questions from our public?
They're my people. If they ask any questions, they'll have to answer to me.
No questions from the public. That'll close the public portion of his testimony. Would you like to proceed with those variances discussion?
One quick one, if I may.
Okay, let's squeeze it in, sure.
Yeah, on the brook, it runs through the property, the Cooklow Brook. Is building a 3 or 4 foot wall along the top of the brook, is that viable?
I don't think if you go to DEP, that's going to be viable because they're not so keen on that. Noreen will correct me if I'm wrong, but I worked for DEP, and that would be something they wouldn't want. The stuff that we're elevating is basically, we're not bringing a whole bunch of fill in to do it. We're just elevating the buildings, kind of like what you would see at the Jersey Shore, where they're putting new houses in, and there's nothing much on the ground level.
Pylons, sure. Okay, no wall, thank you.
I had a question regarding the elevation as well, but I think I'm going to save for the engineer. So we'll proceed with the variances for now.
Thank you. We're asking for 3 major variances. East Main Street, also Polhemus Lane, have 150-foot front yard setbacks. As I explained, we're trying to get away from Cuckles Brook. Therefore, some of the equipment ends up in the front yard setback of East Main Street and Polhemus Lane. Another variance I'm requesting is for maximum improved lot coverage. The ordinance allows 60%. At this second, we have 74%, which was approved in past applications. And all those applications and approvals are in your application package. What we are requesting, because we're moving the station fence slightly north towards East Main Street, we are asking you to allow us to have coverage of 75.5%. Most of this is crushed stone. All the gray you see on the site plan with your application package, that gray, it's all crushed stone. Since we cannot fully build out the station because of Cuckles Brook and the environmental constraints, everything here goes on the developable station that we currently have. So those are the variances I'm asking for. If you want, I can tell you exactly how close equipment will be, which is shown on the plan, and we have
It is shown
dimensions.
on the plans, right?
It is shown on the plan, and we have dimensions. In fact, I should mention, on Polhemus Lane, we are measuring to the new fence. Not pieces of equipment, but to the fence. And I believe it's 2.6 feet. I can go into more detail if you like, and if you would like, I can explain the variances that we are asking for.
So you're asking for 3 major variances. We covered the front yard setback, the improved lot, the maximum improved lot coverage. And what was the third one? If you could just,
There's 2 front yard setbacks.
2 front yard setbacks.
There's
Okay.
one for the East Main Street, and then
All right,
another
good.
One
for
for
the
Polhemus.
For Polhemus, okay.
Yeah, I think just go through the positive and the negative criteria for the variances.
Are we doing this under a C1 or a C2?
Both.
All right, tell me about C1.
C1 is for undue hardship from a physical feature and also for an extraordinary and exceptional situation uniquely affecting a specific piece of property. In this case, Cuckles Brook and its associated environmental features. Couples Brooks has a floodway, a riparian area, and wetlands. The troubleshooter building is in a floodway. We cannot keep it there. It has to move. I'm also requesting permission to upgrade this station under a C2 variant, which is an opportunity for improved zoning and planning that will benefit the community. The substation is an inherently beneficial use. Certainly, energy is a critical component of everyday living. Now, any variance could, in theory, create an impact to surrounding properties. But in this case, we're trying to make the station more resilient. Now, I believe there's special reasons the station can be granted. And these are the purposes of the municipal land use law. The main one is promoting public health, safety, and general welfare of the community and benefiting the public. Also, we're offering a reduction in potential outages, which obviously advances safety from and during natural disaster. We're promoting energy resources in the state. And we're encouraging the coordination of the various public and private procedures and activities shaping land development with a view of lessening such costs of development into the more efficient use of land. Abandoning this station is not worthwhile, not with all the investment that has been made over the years. So it makes sense. Use what you have. The purposes in the Bridgewater zoning ordinance are the same as the municipal land use law. Also, there's some provisions in the township's master plan that help us satisfy the required variances. The master plan encourages appropriate development of land use with a focus on areas in the township that will generate economic development activity, diversify the municipal economic base, create new employment opportunities, and strengthen the tax base. Another provision of the master plan is to encourage the retention of existing light industrial and high technology uses with an emphasis on corporate clusters found in the region, such as pharmaceutical, biomedical research, and life science. I had already mentioned that major customers served by this facility are pharmaceutical, life science, financial, and another public utility. Now, you could also grant this based on going through the SECA analysis. And this is a four-part test. So the first thing one would look at.
Based on what we've put on the record?
Use variance.
No, but that's, sometimes you can do it that way, but I think there's so much testimony on the record, it almost speaks for itself.
I'll move this along if that's all right then.
Yeah, no, I would agree.
I don't think
that
it's
you're
required.
more than pounding the rubble here.
We meet the positive criteria because the station's an inherently beneficial use. And as I've said, electricity is essential for a modern way of living. The public benefits from increased reliability and resilience. The station's security and aesthetics will be improved by new perimeter treatment, all of which promotes public health and welfare. The improvements will not adversely affect the health, safety, or welfare of existing residents, the surrounding area, or alter the character of the neighborhood. The character of the neighborhood stays exactly the same. The negative criteria is satisfied because the upgrades don't substantially impair the purpose or intent of the master plan and development regulations. Safe, reliable, and sufficient electric supplies are needed to promote all the objectives of the master plan, the municipal land use law, and all of the township's planning documents. There is no adverse public safety or health impacts, no substantial public welfare or fiscal or visual impacts. The benefits outweigh any deviations of the zoning ordinance. So it's my opinion as a professional planner that the C variances to improve the station can be granted because there's no detriment to the public good and no impairment to the intent or purpose of the township zoning ordinance and master plan.
Any more variance testimony?
Those are the three variances we need.
Anything else you want to share with the board?
I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
And that's exactly what we're going to ask for at the moment. Thank you, Ms. Marina, for that testimony. Very thorough. Any questions? Mr. Banga?
Thank you for the testimony so far. So just a couple of items. You quoted specifically the master plan a few times. If you can just help me understand the impact to each of those areas that you quoted,
Sure.
those specifics.
Essentially, there's certain development at the township. So that's the very development that we are providing electricity. The township is very concerned about economic development, specifically your major industries, financial, pharmaceutical, laboratories. These all need electricity. We provide that. The electricity provides economic development, diversifies the municipal tax base. Certainly residents can't take the load of taxes. And there's new economic opportunities. Any development that's coming to Bridgewater, we're supplying most of it because PSE&G supplies most of Bridgewater. Now I know JCP&L does serve the northern part of the town. That would be north of Route 206 north of Washington Valley Road, and also west of Country Club Road. That's JCP&L territory. Most of Bridgewater is PSE&G. If you need the electricity, we're going to get it to you.
And then just, as you mentioned, economic benefit specifically, are you paying the township of Bridgewater for an amount based on the land that's there and taxes and so on and so forth?
We are not tax exempt. So all of our installations in Bridgewater pay taxes. That's Bridgewater Switching Station, North Bridge Street Station, Hinder Substation, Mountain Avenue Substation, the Utility Command Center.
And anything else that she doesn't remember?
We all pay taxes.
Okay,
No tax exemption for us.
understood. Just the one item, and I didn't get to ask this. Well, you had mentioned that, obviously this location has already had substantial investment, and that was our primary reason. Not to say that you would abandon, but if you did abandon the site, what would a likely scenario be in terms of who you would?
I am fairly certain this would not be my left.
Ms. Morainer, if possible, perhaps the microphone, if you would take a seat, that one might work a little bit better if that one doesn't project enough.
I'm also not.
Either way, we'll just need to record that audio a little bit better.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm also not sure she can speculate on what corporate would do, but for a site of this size at this investment, I can't imagine that happening based on the work that I've done, and I've represented them over 100 times on applications like this.
Okay, that's fine. With regards to the max improved lot coverage, so you said that's going to be mainly gravel,
Correct.
correct?
So I don't get yelled at. So you said it's going to be primarily gravel. Where is there going to be testimony from someone else to talk about where potentially the water and that will likely?
That's in your whole stormwater report, but the engineer can certainly address it, but it is addressed in the stormwater report that was part of this application.
Okay, I just didn't know if that was going to be part of the testimony as well.
We weren't going to spend the time because it's all addressed in the report, but we're happy to answer any questions you have, sir.
Okay, maybe I'll come back to that then. And just the last item that I think you had mentioned in exhibit, I think this was exhibit A1, is that correct? So you would increase how much exactly did you say that the elevation was going to increase? You said it was up to this plus another foot or so?
Yes. So this shows the watermark that was at the station. We first said, all right, we're going a foot above that. And it turns out that's what NJDEP's regulations specify, and our civil engineer is here to describe all of that for you.
Okay, and just,
I'm sorry, I missed your question. We're elevating it. You had the line where the water was.
Right.
We're going at least a foot above.
right, no, I understand that. My question, where I was going with this was with regards to the fence. So the fence height was going to be, or is currently at what?
8 feet.
And then the new fence will be at
8 feet.
8 feet. So with this elevation increase, is there a possibility to increase the height of the fence, I guess is my question.
We didn't see a need to elevate the fence height. We could certainly do that, but the ordinance only allows 8 feet.
Okay.
Remember, we're not bringing a whole bunch of topsoil and everything else. It's just the buildings are going up. Think of it on stilts or
It will
whatever,
be on piers.
on piers.
On pier, okay, all right, that's fair. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Did I hear it on piers?
Yes,
What?
concrete piers.
What's on piers?
The equipment will be elevated on concrete piers.
Okay, so you would be increasing the, or you would be decreasing the lot coverage by having an elevated structure.
Yeah.
There would be ground.
You're right.
Yeah,
But,
free flow, right?
yes, but there'll still be something on on the ground.
Okay, what I'm trying to get out is that you have 74% lot coverage, which is a lot. And I know down in Kentucky and West Virginia, you go out in the back hollers, you'll find substations and switchgear 10 feet up in the air on steel columns and pedestals, which I'd like to see because we have the water passing underneath, any sheet flow water passing underneath being absorbed by the soils. Looking at the drawings, I saw a lot of concrete slabs. I'm just trying to, what's happening there?
I will defer to our civil engineer, but what I'd like to explain is that
Maureen?
okay,
He's already nodded yes. Let's go with the guy.
I would expect that, yeah.
I appreciate that, sir.
I think we'll have quite a bit of line of questioning regarding the structure and the slab itself when we get to the engineering as well, because that's exactly my thoughts. Okay, does that conclude your testimony?
that concludes my testimony.
Okay, Mr. Chowdhury, any other questions?
On the 150 feet setback, can you just explain in showing the picture where actually the fence will be coming in, or how many feet? You can just show from the picture itself, because you need a mic, that's the whole problem is.
Go to the big board so everybody can see. Which page are you on, sir?
Any one of these drawings, because the fences are there, right? So we just wanted to make sure that how much the fence will be coming out from the setback. You have a 150, so you are moving the fence towards the street, I guess, right?
Yes, and it will be 2.6 feet from the property line
Okay,
on Polhemus Lane.
2.6 from the property, okay.
And I'm pointing to Polhemus Lane
Mhm.
right here.
So 2.6 is from the road or from your property line?
From our property line.
And how much will be remaining from the road to the fence? How many feet will be from the road edges to the fence?
I am going to let our civil engineer
Thank you.
use this handy tool to figure that out.
Okay. No problem, thank you.
Thank you.
Figure it out later on with other questions.
Ms. Sarmat, any questions?
No questions. I just wanted to elaborate that, and I don't know if Ms. Marina had a chance to review, but the township had undertaken with its comprehensive master plan last year, it was required by state law in doing an updated land use element to prepare what's called a climate change related hazard vulnerability assessment. While it didn't talk a lot about resiliency, redundancy, and electrical or any kind of utility infrastructure, it did note under the section that relates to the other plans within the comprehensive master plan, including a sewer and water utility element, that the future planning of new infrastructure improvements should seek to avoid areas that are topographically impacted by potential flooding, utilities that exist or cannot practically avoid areas of impacted flooding should incorporate construction techniques that reduce stormwater intrusion or flooding impacts such as erosion. So I just wanted to make that clear because it is something that is, or what is being proposed is something that is, promoted by the township's master plan. It identifies on all the maps within that element that this is clearly in a flood hazard area. It identifies, the flood hazard elevations, et cetera. So Obviously, that is a serious impact to the site. You saw the evidence. And so I just wanted to add that that's something that's, it wasn't specifically thinking of PSE&G, but it was thinking overall that we have critical infrastructure that makes sure people have electricity, safe drinking water, all those things in a time of an emergency.
Thank you for providing that clarity, Ms. Sarman.
No problem. Thank you.
Mr. Burr, any questions?
Mr. Chairman, just a couple of quick ones. Noreen, on the plans, there's, I think, 4 construction trailers shown. Are they for temporary purposes? Can you just
Yes, they
describe
are.
what they're for and how long they'll be on site?
Generally, we anticipate construction will take about 2 to 3 years. At the height of construction, we expect about 50 workers on site. They will all be accommodated inside the station. The trailers are for management, the electric crews, the testing and commissioning groups, and the civil crews. We rent these trailers, so we're paying for them each month. We are not going to leave them there forever because we're paying for them. So they will be removed from the site when construction is complete.
The plans show lightning masts, 2 of them, 85 feet tall.
Correct.
Are they required? Are you electing to put them in? Just briefly describe what they're for.
I'm going to give you the planner's explanation of this, not the electrical engineer's explanation. But essentially, what the lightning mast does is it provides a cone of protection around the electrical equipment, and it prevents the equipment from being struck by lightning. So the lightning mast is a protective feature, and I believe there are 3 of them at 85 feet high.
Are there lightning masts on the site now?
Yes, there are. So as I explained, we're rearranging the equipment. So as the equipment moves, you need to have the lightning mast to protect it. So the lightning masts are moving.
Okay. And last question, I just want to touch back on the lot coverage issue. So it was a little bit unclear in the first review what the proposed lot coverage was going to be, and I understand now the proposal is to increase from 74% existing up to 75.5, which, quick math, I think we're talking probably 5,000 or 6,000 square feet of new coverage, and I understand most of that is stone. Have you guys taken a look at the plan to see if there's any way to economize that coverage and just get that back down at least to the 74 that you're playing with now and not increasing or exacerbating that pre-existing condition?
Part of the concern is we have to cover the surface with something. We can't have vegetation in the site, so grass is not a consideration. Generally, we use crushed stone extensively because it prevents erosion, and also it provides a good driving surface if we need to access things. Permeable pavers, we have had a lot of trouble with that because you have to keep them clean. So in the winter, when we have to plow the main driveway, we're obviously using salt and things like that. It gets in the permeable pavers.
Yeah.
Now they're not really working. So the crushed stone is for erosion control and stabilizing the surface of the land.
Is there a way that vehicular access could be restricted to some of those stone areas? Restricted away from some of those stone areas so that they truly do function as a pervious surface and they're not subject to compaction and siltation from
We
vehicular
already
use?
do some of that. The main traffic is in through the road that goes across the station, the McAdam driveway. Many areas are not traversed by vehicles. So the crushed stone doesn't get compacted that much. However, after 60 years of, actually 64 years, yes, you've got compaction.
Right. Yeah.
Are you suggesting that we might be able to get a credit if we limited circulation? I mean, I love it, but...
Well, so Bridgewater's ordinance is interesting in that there are some types of ground cover that are not considered to be lot coverage. So a residential deck, for example, although it doesn't apply to this, if what's under it is pervious, the deck doesn't count towards lot coverage.
So dirt would count, but if I put stone under my deck,
Correct.
I probably have an
Correct.
impervious coverage.
There's also an allowance for, instead of wood mulch, if you used like a Riverstone product for landscape beds, that's not considered lot coverage. And I suspect that's because it's not subject to the compaction, the loading, et cetera, that truly would make it coverage. You can argue the stone itself has some imperviousness to it, but that's the way the ordinance is written. So, when I saw the 75.5, I'm just thinking, gosh, is there a way to get that down to 1.5%, eliminate that variance? And that's where my head went, is if we restrict traffic, if it's a material that truly functions as pervious material and it's never going to be subject to that compaction, maybe that's kind of a happy medium.
Maybe I'm kind of curious, since you brought it all up, and since one of the board members brought it up, whether or not when my engineer gets up, he's going to be able to say, well, on 20% of the stuff that we have sitting there, it's only on pilings, or it's only
Sure.
on a little footing,
Right.
and that there is impervious that we're not taking credit for. But I don't know where that, I don't want to ask that question yet.
Fair enough. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Byrd. Any members of the public wish to question the witness at this time? Please come now. No members of the public. Close testimony for this witness. Thank you very much thus far. And who's your next witness?
My next witness is my civil engineer, sir.
Okay. Would you like to bring
Bryce
them up?
Hanson.
Ed, I just want you to raise your hand.
It feels more natural to stand.
Okay, very good. You swear the testimony you're going to give in connection with this hearing will be the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Could you state and spell your name for the record?
My name is Bryce Hanson. First name Bryce, B-R-Y-C-E. Last name Hansen, H-A-N-S-E-N.
Bryce, by whom are you employed?
I am employed by Black & Veatch and have been working for BV for over 3 years. That's about 2022.
Okay, what's your educational background, Bryce?
I obtained a bachelor's and master's of science in civil engineering from the University of Minnesota, Duluth.
What's your professional background? What do you do to keep yourself busy during the daytime?
I have worked as an engineer in industrial settings since 2018. I practice civil and structural engineering. I currently hold a professional engineer's license in New Jersey and in 5 other states. I also hold a structural engineer's license in Illinois and Georgia. My experience in recent years has been explicitly focused on substation work, but I do have a broad experience in oil terminals, mining facilities, hydraulic structures such as dams, rockfall hazard mitigation, utility scale solar, and coastal structures.
What's your current title?
I currently hold the position of Senior Registered Structural Engineer and Group Supervisor at Black & Veatch in our Bloomington office. In my current position, I manage civil and structural engineers who perform work on substation projects. I am responsible for quality assurance, standards implementation, proposals, client development, and leading the civil structural scopes on projects.
And you're licensed in New Jersey, and your license is valid as of tonight?
That is correct.
I'd like to offer him as a licensed civil engineer.
Does the board have any objections to Mr. Hansen's qualifications? None. Please proceed.
Okay. You heard all the testimony. You heard all the questions. Where do you want to get started? We know that you designed it. We really talked about preparing stormwater testimony. The board has had a couple of other areas that they want us to explore. You want to start with the stormwater, Bryce?
Yeah, sure. I can definitely do that. So the proposed work in its entirety will have a neutral impact on the stormwater within the station and the site. The proposed work will alter the pavement areas in the station slightly and increase the impervious areas within the station slightly. However, we are increasing the station stone thickness in a fairly significant area, about an acre of the station, which actually leads to an improvement of the stormwater characteristics on the site.
Okay, can you expound on that? You heard some questions from the board. Is there a way that we can improve the situation? Do you have any idea what's going to be under these structures? Is it going to be stone? Is it going to be dirt? Is it going to be Tupperware? I don't know.
Yeah, so I would say at this time, the plan would be to put a clean crushed station stone underneath the buildings. That is pretty typical in this situation. Usually it's about 4 inches thick. That does a good job for grounding purposes, protecting the workers and protecting the public on the outsides of the station. This stone in these areas could be increased to help improve some of these characteristics, such as infiltration and things like that.
Okay, well, let's talk about structures and the fact that we're not completely encasing them. They're going to go up on what, footings? How's it going to work?
Yeah, that is correct. So there will be a concrete mat that'll be buried some distance below ground to get below frost levels. And then there will be concrete piers, a mix of round and square, depending on where they're at, to support the buildings.
All right, so that's basically a footing for the transformer or the building or whatever, right?
Yep, and just to be accurate, there is one piece of equipment in the northwest corner of the station that will be on a slab, and it was feasible, just the way the grade works out on the site, to put that on a slab instead of landed on.
So that one's on a slab, but the other items that Noreen talked about, they're all going to be they're all going to be on footings. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And then we're going to have the stone underneath.
That is correct.
So I guess the question is, with the stone underneath and the fact that except for varmints maybe wandering around on them, does that stone give us any credit based on your deck example for impervious, so that maybe we aren't at 75.5 and maybe we're approaching the 74 or something less? And I don't know what the answer is.
I think the buried concrete slab might.
The concrete slab, there's no question, that one's out of play. That one's out of play, Mark. But the other ones seem to only have footings on, say, the 4 corners.
Footings and then the crushed stone.
And then you got crushed stone underneath that nobody's going to be walking on, But I don't know whether that makes a difference or whether that could go to some of the positive proofs as to the fact that we are at the...
Just so I'm clear, though, so the concrete pad would be for equipment that would be on, but then the piers with the crushed stone underneath would be for the 2 buildings.
There's one piece of equipment in the northwest corner of the site, just because the grade is a little bit naturally higher. That'll be on the slab.
More elevated, right.
And everything else will be on piers, just because it is further, and for minimizing the amount of fill that we're bringing onto the site to stay net zero, we would not put that on a slab.
Again, concrete pad, equipment, crushed stone, structure.
Yes.
And there was terminology and testimony regarding buried concrete slab. Could you speak to the testimony of buried concrete slab and where that would be?
Correct. So underneath the buildings that would have the piers coming out of the ground, there would be a slab of some sort that would give us enough bearing capacity, or enough structural support to support the building.
Okay.
So that is covered then, right? So that will be basically even in the building, there will be a concrete slab.
Buried, and yes.
Yeah, buried, but it will be concrete slab.
To some degree, correct, yep.
And over the concrete slab, there will be crushed stone, and then the piers will come.
Yeah, so that slab that I mentioned will be buried at some depth, so there'll be several feet of soil over that, and then there'll be stone on top.
Do you have a drawing that we can see that?
I do not believe that had been provided in the permit site application.
Okay, I don't know. The professional can actually explain whether that will be covered as a, the covered ground or within 75% or.
Board engineer, Mr. Burr, I think some of the questioning right now lies within this buried concrete slab that sounds to contain, based on the testimony, dirt on top and some additional CCS on top of that.
Yeah, it's coverage. That's lot coverage. 4 inches of soil on top of a buried concrete slab is not going to allow the water to infiltrate into the ground. So I don't know if that was accounted for in the 75.
Yeah, that's the
If
question.
it wasn't, it has to be, and I think Ms. Sarmad may have raised it in her report, I think I may have as well. One of the revisions, plan revisions we'd ask for is for an updated table to be provided on the plans, kind of showing the existing coverage as well as the proposed coverage. But yeah, I mean, a buried slab, if it's not going to be removed, it has to be counted as coverage there.
So that will be considered as a coverage then, even though it is underground?
It should be, yes.
Oh, okay, that's probably the reason they have put 75% or 75.5%.
It's not going to allow water to infiltrate into the ground if there's, you know, buried slab under there. So I think it has to be counted.
Thank you.
That's coverage.
So the bottom line is, the exercise that we just went through was a nice try, but it didn't help because it left us right where we began.
Well,
Right?
it was a good try in that I think you're still in the variance condition for coverage. What I do appreciate, though, is that that added stone thickness does provide for some stormwater management capability because you have the void space in that stone. It's like a dry well. If you can picture an underground dry well. Now we do, you know, concrete tanks with stone on the bottom. The old way of doing it was to dig a big hole and dump clean stone in it, and all the water would fill into that trench. So it essentially functions as a storage, as a capture area for that runoff. So, you know, I'm pleased with that. Obviously, we'll need to make sure that those areas are maintained. So we'd ask for an O&M, an operations and maintenance manual on the stormwater system. And that should be a condition of any approval by this board. But yeah, I think it's still a variance condition. But from a drainage perspective, I'm encouraged to hear about the stone areas. Certainly want to make sure that they are kept clear from traffic if we can avoid it. You know, and frankly, even by putting some stone under the elevated buildings, it's still going to have some pervious nature to it because you're not going to have vehicular loading under the buildings. I agree. You wouldn't want to leave it exposed dirt. I think that's going to be messy. The stone will help with some erosion control, et cetera. And stone that's not subject to vehicular loading is still going to have perviousness to it. So the area under the buildings, I'm less concerned with. If there are some areas on site that are going to be stone, I would love to, if PSC&G could figure out a way to where they're going to be off limits for any vehicles in the future. There's got to be some space on this site where they can't possibly envision any future equipment or vehicles traversing certain areas. Maybe they can keep those off limits, and that's going to help as well.
Perhaps provide some demarcation if possible. As to areas that shouldn't be traversed
They can
upon.
get creative, but it's an awful lot of stone out there, and I can't imagine that they're going to need every square inch of that stone for vehicles in the future. So maybe there's a way to work with that.
Interesting idea.
The answer is, you can certainly look into that. There are, I'm sorry, there are higher authorities we have to check that are not here tonight to see if we can do it. But if we could work,
So would it be a condition be appropriate that you work with the board engineer regarding potential means to reduce the lot coverage?
absolutely, counsel.
If I might add to it too, I think that there's maybe some other things that we could talk about doing as far as minimizing that concrete slab or burying it such that it improves water's ability to infiltrate into the earth there.
And it's appreciated, any and all means of potentially reducing the coverage, and these attempts are very, very much appreciated.
Absolutely.
We understand since that started the whole project, so
Yeah.
shame on us if we can't come up with something.
Okay. Mr. Peck will make that a condition of potential means of approval. Okay. Okay, were there any further questions regarding the lot coverage at this time? If none, we can continue with the testimony.
You have other testimony that you want to?
Would you like to talk about flood, what we're doing to protect the station from floodwaters, elevations and such?
I think they ought to hear a little bit about that because it is in your stormwater report that was submitted, but a little bit live up close and personal would be good.
Yeah, so I guess, the station out there right now generally has a grade between 45 feet and 46 feet above, sea level. The NGDP climate-adjusted flood hazard elevation varies on the site from about 46.2 feet and 48 feet. That observed flood elevation during Tropical Storm Ida was about 47.7 feet, which I believe that Noreen loosely testified to earlier. Buildings and structures and critical components are being elevated to an elevation of 49 feet, which gives us about a foot of freeboard from those reference elevations. And then as Noreen noted, in 2023, the NJDEP updated the definition of a floodplain, placing the majority of the site in the floodplain. There were some questions earlier, I think maybe about transformer elevations, and I think there was a question about the gate. The gate operator itself would be elevated to that 49-foot elevation so that it would be out of the floodwater. With the transformers and like the breakers and such, those pieces of equipment, the bases themselves aren't necessarily being elevated to 49 feet, but the components that cannot get wet would be above that 49-foot mark.
And the control mechanisms and the like for the gate, that's all going to be above the flood elevation. So we shouldn't have, unless it's jammed up by debris or something, we shouldn't have a problem with it being non-operational, is that?
That is correct.
What else you got?
One thing I just wanted to make note of here, also in regards to flood, is that Black & Veatch did perform a net fill calculation on this site to make sure that we're not bringing more material into the site than we're taking out. So basically how that works is we add up everything that we're taking off of the site, and then we add up everything that we're bringing into the site, and we are increasing the volume of flood water storage, so it'd be above grade to the reference level to make sure that we're not pushing water into adjacent properties. So I say that to say that we are having a negligible impact, if not an improvement in impact as far as flood water is concerned.
Anything else come into your fertile mind before we turn it to the board for other questions?
Those are the main things that I had on my list that I wanted to.
And that we had talked about, I think.
Yep.
Okay, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. We'll open it up for questioning then. Start on this side. Mr. McGore, sure. Why not?
Question about the soils. Is there any history or knowledge of any transformer oil spills with PCBs?
I am not aware of anything specific, though there was an environmental impact statement. I am not sure if it looked into that or not.
It's like a 60-year-old plant and it was common use back then. I'm just wondering, any reports of it?
I am not aware of any.
The answer is we have no knowledge of any transformer leaks on the site. I think that was pretty much the question.
All I have right now.
In the process of the elevation, some of the improvements that are taking place, will there be any hazardous material remediation going on the site?
There may be. I'm not certain of any. I'm not aware of any, to be honest.
The answer, though, is we will have the appropriate professionals. I don't think we're going to need an LSRP, but we'll have the appropriate professionals making sure, because we got to make sure that we take care of our property because it's our public responsibility too. And actually, going back to 1960, that's probably, it was small, it wasn't doing that much, and then we were coming in for continuing approvals. So my suspicion is this site, while it seems like it's old, I was arguing with them at dinner, this is a relatively newer site that it started in 1960, but you guys started your development. It's not like we're up in Hudson County or something in Jersey City, you know?
Well, to Mr. McGore's prior question, what types of materials were in use in 1960s for a facility such as this one that perhaps would have to be remediated today?
I am not knowledgeable enough to know what may or may not be out there as far as existing hazardous materials. As our attorney said, we'll have the appropriate people out there that'll be looking at these things. And
We have a duty to report, and we can't do it under the cloak of darkness.
So, such that the municipality is alerted when these
Mr.
taking
Chairman,
place.
I think that's a terrific idea, and I suggest that's a condition of the resolution, assuming we get an approval.
Okay. Okay, moving down the questioning. Mr. Chowdhury.
So that you're basically bringing two new transformer, 26 kV and 13 kV, I think?
there will be one new transformer on the site, permanent. There are two temporary mobile transformers that will be on the site during construction.
Okay. Yeah, the new transformer, I don't see any issue about any leaking anyway, because these are they're made very ruggedly, so it should be okay. That's why I asked. So there will be old transformer also, will be continuing to work?
The other transformers on the site are newer, so the other ones are not being replaced. The one that is being replaced is an older transformer, if that answers your question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, I wish I would have seen any topological map there, because you are putting the 49 feet on the gate, main gate in 49 feet, and the building is in 49 feet, and equipment will be in a 49 feet. What will be the in-between, spaces will be, it will be up and down, and also, also on your northeast corner, there's a flood zone there. So during the flood, I don't know how you're maintaining the slope. That's if you can kindly explain or at least show somewhere that how the slope will be maintained in entire property.
Sure. In those locations where those items, such as the gate operator, that will be elevated on a concrete pier,
Yeah.
or a small structure, for example. We wouldn't bring the grade up to match it. So the existing grade on the site is not changing from its existing stance. There's some minor grading that is occurring, but it is not changing how the site drains or functions.
But how the cars or a person will be going from 49 feet to the building again? There is somewhere in between what I probably did not understand how it will be done.
Oh, I apologize. I maybe understand the question better. So in these pieces of equipment that workers will need to get into, there will be stairs that will get up to them, and small platforms and things like that. So where they need to get themselves up to 49 feet, there'll be a few step stair, basically.
Oh, okay. So there will be somewhere to go down. And that will be overall how many feet elevation will be, because, from the flood zone area in northeast corner?
The stairs will be a standard 7-inch rise, 11-inch run, stair to get up to the building. If that answers your question.
Not exactly. So just show me, or at least tell me, where you are going to do the grading from the flood zone in the northeast corner to the main gate or to the building, the new building that you are making it.
So the question is specifically in regard to this building that's in the
No,
corner?
from the northeast corner, the flood areas, yes.
Up in here?
From here to just tell us that if you consider that 47 or something that you mentioned, then how much the grade will be. We already know it is a 49 feet on the building. New building will be 49 feet. So there will be grade there from that areas to the new building.
Yeah, so all the grade in all these areas is effectively staying unchanged. So these buildings are going to be, elevated a few feet above the ground, and then access into them will be via stairs. So we're not changing the grading in these areas.
Okay. Okay, so I understand now. There is no grading change at all in your locations. You will be using the stairs or platform either from the front gate or otherwise from the building itself.
Correct.
Okay, thank you very much.
There was a question earlier about fire suppression and the type of chemical that's used for fire suppression. Is that an appropriate time to ask that question?
Yeah, I'm more than happy to answer that question. So just to be really specific and clear, so the site, the reporting building, troubleshooters building, would use fire detection, and that's installed to PSE&G standards. And the way that would work, and if there was a fire event, that detection would notify PSE&G, and then PSE&G would coordinate that response.
Are there fire extinguishers in the building though, too?
Correct, yes.
Okay, so there's no chemical suppression on site. It's only available when the fire services arrive. Is that what I'm understanding?
I guess what I'm able to say is that, what I'm knowledgeable on to say is that PSE&G would be responsible for coordinating that response to make sure what is being used to suppress that fire is appropriate for what is on fire.
Okay.
If that helps.
If I could perhaps rephrase the question, are there any containment units on the site that contain chemicals that are used for fire suppression?
Not to my knowledge, unless, I'm not to my knowledge. That isn't to say there isn't, but not to my knowledge.
Okay, any other question? I'll ask Mr. Burr in a bit. I'll continue on. Any other questions?
Just to go back to what the chairman was just talking about, where you don't have a real fire suppression system, my question is, why not?
I guess I will defer that question, I guess to PSE&G, I guess.
Is there a representative perhaps that would like to testify?
I will find one.
Okay.
Maybe we can come back to that.
That's a good suggestion. Why don't we continue with the questioning at this stage until the relevant expert comes up?
Mr. Buncher, did you have any other questions?
I'm good.
Okay. So just had a couple of questions here. Regarding the current equipment installed, do you know the voltage ratings and the capacity levels?
Voltage ratings are 230, 69 kV, 26 kV, and 13. I do not have the amperage capacity off the top of my head.
Okay. And regarding the new installs, the transformers, capacitors, switchgear, are those higher or lower in terms of the voltage ratings?
The voltages, the nameplate designations are the same as what is out there.
The same?
Yep, there's no change to the nameplate rating as far as I'm
Okay.
aware.
And then has an electromagnetic field study been conducted for the proposed new equipment configuration?
I will let PSE&G speak to that.
Okay.
We are not making really any changes. That would impact that as far as I'm aware.
Okay, so I'll wait to question the PSE&G representative on these questions, if you're not able to answer them at this point.
Do you have any other further questions?
No, just those. And a few other ones that followed the EMF,
Okay.
but I can hold.
Standard practice is we do not keep fire suppression any longer on site. If something comes up in one of the buildings, they may bring it on to deal with it, but it's not kept there.
What's the average response time if there were an issue or an incident that required an electrical fire to be put out?
What is it, Juan, about 10 minutes, 5 minutes? See, we have troubleshooters there, so the response time will be faster here than it would be on most others. And the whole thing is that if it's a transformer fire, we kind of just get out of the way, and then they figure out what to do. People showing up on site may show up with things, but it's just something that the utility has certain requirements, and apparently they're changing at times.
As you can imagine, it's very top-of-mind questioning, especially now with EV vehicles and EV warehousing and batteries and the amount of time that, the destruction that could cause, so.
Understood.
Right. So if there were any testimony at all that could help us determine whether or not, the response time is within half an hour time frame, a few minutes, we just,
Response time for this site would be what?
Our central division headquarters is 5 miles away.
okay.
So as fast as they can get there, I would guess 10, 15 minutes.
And I believe you included in your earlier testimony, that's the one that's located down in Somerset Franklin, is that correct?
Yes, Weston Canal Road.
Okay.
So it would be just south of this station.
Okay. So proper protocol would be the troubleshooters would identify the issue, or do you have automatic identification of fire in place?
We also, yes, we do have remote capabilities to tell what's going on the site.
Okay.
I would expect response to be about 15 minutes.
Okay. Thank you for giving your best efforts at answering that question. There were also questions about EMF.
Yeah, so but I don't believe that the engineer is prepared to answer those questions, and I'm not sure if there's a.
I'm not sure.
PSE
What's the EMF issue?
Yeah, so just, has there been an electromagnetic field study with this new configuration, with the capacitors and the switch gears? Is the output expected to be the same? Is it expected to be higher? Has there been any study done in this configuration?
Have we had Kyle King do any study on EMF as a result of the new configuration on the site?
If it helps, since I know this subject very well.
I'm sorry.
If it helps, if you have a transformer specification, it should be written there EMI index. So it is every equipment has to have that EMI index, every equipment.
Okay. And
yeah,
Right.
so,
Well, perhaps you can go back.
Yes.
And, I don't know if we're going to finish tonight, but if you can come back with with what Mr. Chowdhury is asking for.
we didn't bring him tonight because nothing is changing on that. He is here on new applications when we're putting a new site in, just to answer public questions. But his answers.
No, actually, this question is very valid. Again, sorry.
I'm not
Sorry to
disagreeing with the
interrupt
question.
it.
I'm
So what will happen is specifically if any worker or employees drive with the electric vehicles near the transformer, then it may affect significantly negatively, or at least life and death situation will be. But nowadays, just to let you know that nowadays most of the transformer are protected for this one.
Right.
So we know it very well, but at the same time, I think the question is very valid to know about the electromagnetic interference informations, so that at least it's for the knowledge purpose as well as the recording purpose, it is important to note it.
Okay.
And I believe Mr. Chowdhury, the purpose of his questioning is for safety purposes.
Yes, exactly.
Safety purposes, mingling with the electrical vehicles on the site.
Not only electric vehicle, anybody, in fact, you and me, everybody has a different index of catching out. That's why sometimes you may not have any problem with touching the paper. I do.
Okay. Let me ask you.
Could we provide some of that documentation to the appropriate parties?
That was the question I was going to ask, Mr. Chairman, because I think I can provide it. My experts up in Connecticut, but I don't think this is a hard one for him to provide to your professionals. If there's a problem, then we can come back.
We could make that a condition in order to provide the documentation to the necessary professionals. This way, we could at least have a condition of approval that things are met to the proper spec.
And you got something in the file. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. Does that satisfy the request, Mr. Chowdhury?
No, it's.
Yeah, no, I think that,
Mr. Banger.
only because I don't believe New Jersey has a EMF requirement, but I think for the general public and for recording purposes, if there is a configuration change, and there is an output that's greater, then it's just good for us to be able to recognize that for future purposes or whatever.
We can certainly, we, as we say in Hudson County, we got a guy. So we can have Mr. King take a look and respond to your questions. And if it's all right, if he can talk directly to your engineer, and if necessary, one of the board members, he'll be happy to answer the questions.
Great.
I think that would more than
Thank you.
suffice.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I may have some few questions, but I want to finish it. You have some?
No, I'm good.
Okay, we'll segue from the topic with additional questions.
Okay, no problem. These are, may not be directly related to the construction or at least, witnesses. You are the utility company. Are you thinking anything about using solar cells either on the parking lot or otherwise on the roof?
You think those days have come and gone? We're not doing solar cells on any facility like this, are we? Are we even thinking about it? No. No, we did solar around landfills. I did a whole bunch of them where we capped landfills with solar panels and everything else, but not on facilities like this.
Okay, no problem. And also, with the improvement of the buildings, are we increasing the employment or employment will be same as before? Number of employees.
I'm sorry, I missed it. Are we what?
What are the number of employees that are going to be on site?
It's already been
Increase,
testified.
decrease?
Just the one troubleshooter.
Troubleshooters.
2? 1?
2 shifts.
2.
2 shifts of 2. And then we have biweekly or whatever inspections where somebody comes in and kicks the meter or whatever they do. I don't know.
Okay, even though you are designing as per the New Jersey DEP for the flood level to 49 feet, 1 feet higher than the what flood level was, how many years of this flood plan that you have? This is a 100-year plan, 50 years plan? Or what?
The NJDEP flood hazard elevation is a 100-year hazard elevation, a 100-year mean recurrence interval.
Oh, okay. Also, as a service provider company, do you have any KPI that, I have built a new plant, this new plant will be able to provide, say, 10 years, only 3 minutes of outage? And like the telecom company always does it, and the utility company actually should have it by the FCC rules. Do you have any KPI yourself? How many minutes of the, so-called outage you will have at certain number of years, 5 years, 5 hours, 10 years?
I say that with a smile, but public service takes great pride in trying to avoid the outages, and they really, really try and do the enhancements. And, this is an example of what I do for public service. So the answer is we try and avoid all outages. With all the redundancy that Noreen talked about, the fact is they're all interconnected also. So there are circuits that automatically flip and begin to energize whatever's down, and there's different routes to get the energy to where it's got to be. I mean, it can always happen that something bad happens. It could be just an outage. I mean, we had a squirrel get into a substation once. The squirrel had a really, really bad day. And it caused some stuff to trip, but they restored it.
Well, thank you, but I'm not satisfied because last 15 years, Bridgewater and everybody in New Jersey have seen lots of outages.
No question.
Other than that, Sandy and Irene. Okay, so that's what I'm asking.
I'm hoping, I think we're all hoping that the DEP numbers that we're now building to will hopefully make things better as we go through, whether you believe in global warming or whatever the reason is that we're having all the stuff that you're talking about. I mean, I've been doing this for 40 years, and I haven't seen this many 100-year storms. And I worked for DEP when I first started. I mean, it's just crazy now.
I'm done, thank you.
Mr. Chowdhury and Mr. Burt. Mr. Chowdhury asked a question about the floodplain, and as such it is with larger establishments such as data centers and especially power generation stations. This, correct me if I'm wrong, this lies within a 100-year floodplain area, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have any information, or is there a current rate of change in which that, let's say 100 years from now we had, or even 30 years from now we had another storm, to which the 49-foot elevation of a lot of the equipment that's being proposed here, that this would not be sufficient today in 50 years?
Well, it's their best guess. And that's why they've changed the rules twice now in the last 2 years, trying to account for the increase in future storms. But I couldn't sit here with confidence and say by elevating these buildings to 49, elevation 49, there's going to be a 0% chance of future flood impacts. I don't think anybody could say that. I don't think anybody thought that we'd get, Ida level impacts when it happened. But I should say more than a best guess. It's their educated guess. They put a lot of time and effort into the science behind it, and I think that's what the state is comfortable with, and that's frankly what I think we have to go by, because those are the permits that they need to obtain from the state. Certainly going to be a lot better than it is now. That's for sure. I don't know if I answered.
No, you did. I appreciate the applicant's willingness to adhere to the master plan and try to reuse the existing location. I'm just curious, at what point, they're already, again, going up 49 feet for a lot of the equipment. At what point maybe I should ask the applicant, at what point is abandonment truly the option? What would be too high in order to keep the power generation in this area, in the station?
I guess, in this testimony, I would not be able to give a number as to what that is. That's going to be really complicated. There would be costs associated with it and, weighing the pros and cons of that. I will echo what Mr. Burr said in that this is our best guess, and this reflects current engineering standard practice. The climate-adjusted flood elevations are 3 feet higher than the FEMA elevations, so this is significantly higher. So that said, this is our best crack at that. Anything beyond that would be speculation on my part.
Okay. Much appreciated. Any questions? Mr. Bongiorno.
In today's climate with cyber terrorists, what has PSE&G done to protect the grid from a cyber terrorist?
Well, we're here tonight, and that's a good example because you heard about us putting out other walls inside the station. So that helps. You heard about the new fencing that we're using. They're doing all kinds of things to try and enhance.
But you have remote access to the site from somewhere, and that means that somebody could hack that. So one of the big things that we worry about is somebody doing something to the water supply and our power grid. And that's where I'm coming from right now.
There's not a whole lot, though, we can do, or that we're in like, we don't have jurisdiction over, cyber crimes or cyber thing. This is just the zoning ordinance
I understand it's zoning.
Yeah, I mean, but,
this is a separate issue. I'm not allowed to bring it up.
well, you can, but it's not, I'm just saying it's not relevant to the site plan and variance question. That's all. It's getting far afield from.
If I wanted to get an answer, where else would I go to get that answer other than PSE&G right here tonight?
Ask the man. I'm not the guy to answer. I'm just
Well, okay, well, I did ask them.
So are we talking about cyber as in electronic, somebody coming into our computer system in central headquarters? Or are we
Shutting
talking about,
down
we
the
talking
grid.
about random acts of violence and vandalism
Terrorists,
on
sure,
the outside?
cyber terrorists.
I think what you're seeing, based on Noreen's testimony, is that we are trying to enhance the site. We're putting additional walls up. I mean, you all heard about the incident out in, I think it was California, where somebody decided to use transformers as target practice, and they were taking shots. We are now putting up walls to try and prevent that. I did a big application, by way of example, up in the Meadowlands, where we had a big facility off the turnpike. And we did all kinds of things so that nobody had a clear line of sight to the equipment. We are trying to do that. Again, the fence that's up is another example, and Noreen obviously has something to help me.
Sir, if you wish to give me your name and contact information, I can have our corporate security department confer with you. Would
I
that
will
be
do that.
acceptable?
Thank you.
I think Mr. Bongiorno's line of questioning is appropriate in that it is a site plan, but what types of physical features I think he's looking could deter a cybercrime. As far as some of the other issues with cyber hacking, perhaps those are more adept for cybersecurity protocols that are in place on a business or from the organizational perspective, and that's a little bit more isolated to the business. But from a land use perspective, I do appreciate the questioning regarding any physical.
Thank you. Yeah, and I do also, and that's why I'm emphasizing, for example, this new fence material. That's brandy new, because I think that this is the way to slow it down. I mean, before it was just fence and maybe some barbed wire on the top of it. They're not doing that anymore. And you know, the other side of the coin is there are a lot of coins invested in facilities. These are incredibly expensive, so they're doing everything that they can to at least protect it. But I think if we get your name, sir, we'll get a response or put you in touch with the right people.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just to follow up what Mr. Vanderline, you are saying. Okay, now I think with due respect to you, I think you understood the physical security. The physical security will be controlled by your security forces as well as the equipment itself, how it is designed and manufactured. But main thing is that he was really emphasizing on cybersecurity, whereas because nowadays every equipment is somehow or other could be connected remotely. So it is highly likely that you're putting so many millions of dollars of building here, but that mean nothing if you do not have a cybersecurity plan. Now, I am absolutely sure PSNG has it. The question is, when you reply, Ms. Maureen, kindly make sure that at least cybersecurity and physical security both are included in his response.
We will do that, and I think quite frankly, that's a good idea. I mean, it's just, the world gets crazy. How many of you have had credit cards compromised or hacked or something else when you did nothing wrong, as far as you know, and yet somebody hacked it? So I get it. We'll get you the information, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate the line of questioning. When you come before this board, you're going to get bombarded with a lot of different questions from a lot of different
No
angles.
complaints. You're doing your job. You're doing your
Excellent.
jobs.
Very good. With that said, any questions from our professionals?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bryce, the DEP permits that we've talked a lot about, can you just tell the board what exactly they include, where everything stands in terms of the process? Have permits been applied for? Have you had a pre-app meeting with DEP, and what permits have you applied for?
I guess as where we exactly sit in those permits, I will definitely defer to Noreen because she's been the one that's been preparing those. Some time ago, we did have a meeting with them to kind of discuss the project and things like that. And as Noreen touched on with the part of the fence that we're leaving, that was part of that conversation. But I'll let Noreen add to that.
Thank you, Bryce. Yes, I did submit an application to NJDEP, and it's primarily a flood hazard area verification. A copy of it is with your municipal clerk's office, and it was deemed complete earlier in March. On March 27th, I added additional information. If you like, I can get you the file number. It starts with 1806. I'm sorry, I don't remember the rest of it. The reviewers are Mark Harris and Karen Ashwood. I think I have that right. But the application is at your clerk's office, and there is an engineer's report included with it. One of the concerns we had was if you remove that troubleshooter's building, does it create downstream impacts? So we had Van Cleef engineers, specifically Peter Alleman, do a study that demonstrated there would be no downstream impact from taking down the troubleshooter's building. But if it's all right with you, may I send you an email tomorrow with the pertinent information? Thank you.
And don't go anywhere, just to follow up. So the concern that was raised about the troubleshooters building, did that come about as a result of preliminary discussions or a pre-application meeting with DEP?
Well, after this storm, we then decided what we would do with the station, and we did have a conference call with NJDEP about a year ago and explained what we were doing. This was a Zoom call, so obviously you could share drawings. And we showed them our idea of possibly a new fence by Cuckles Brook, and they said, don't even go there. Do not do that.
That's what I was going to get at next. So it was a result of those conversations, your fence conversation came up.
Absolutely. They told us they would not approve a new fence by Cuckles Brook, which is why we will leave the existing fence in place.
Can I ask you one additional question, unrelated to DEP, but something that I think is going to fall under your umbrella, Noreen? We talked a little bit about emergency response, fire protection at the facility, et cetera. And it was made clear that PSE&G typically initiates that in connection or in concert with the local emergency responders. Do you guys participate in annual training or training as necessary with the local fire departments, rescue squads, et cetera?
I am told that we do.
Okay.
You would also be amused to know that we have a number of employees who are volunteers on their firefighting squads. In fact, I can think of one person in Warren Township who's actually on the fire squad.
And to your knowledge, is there any change condition as a result of this application that would require you guys to meet with the fire and rescue squads to update them on new firefighting protocols, et cetera?
I believe it is part of our normal standard to do that anyway.
And if that was incorporated as a condition of approval, you'd have no problem with that?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
You are welcome.
Just one follow-up, Mr. Chairman, for Bryce, as far as, and hopefully you can answer this, but as far as signage is concerned, any new signage being proposed at this facility by way of your site plan?
Yeah, so the signage was, I believe, shown in the drawings that were provided as part of the application. The signage should generally be, similar to what's out there, but it's being replaced with new signage.
And last question, in our engineering report, there was a memo issued from the fire official. There was a memo issued from the township sewer utility. Ms. Sarmad probably had some comments in her planning report. Any issues with any of the comments that we've raised where we specifically asked for plan revisions or additional calculations? Are they all something that you can address as a condition of approval?
Yeah, I did my best to work through those late last week, and myself and my civil counterpart at PSE&G, we did not see any major red flags as far as things that we wouldn't be able to directly change or work through with you.
Very good. Thank you.
Just one comment that resonated in me is the fire department was looking for a lockbox, and public service doesn't do that, but we can certainly work with you.
Yeah,
It's stuff like that.
it would be a condition of approval, but ultimately, that's going to be the next step in satisfying your conditions of
Exactly.
approval with the fire official.
Big
So,
picture, right.
understood. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Byrd. Are there any additional questions? Any questions from our members of the public? No questions from the public. That'll close the public portion for this witness. Thank you very much for your testimony. Do we have any further witnesses or any further testimony this evening?
Oh, sir, I'm all finished.
Very good. Board Attorney, Mr. Peck, have we satisfied all conditions that we spoke of this evening? Any requests?
Just gotta, even though it's a formality, you have to open it up for public general comment.
Okay. Any members of the public that wish to comment at this time, please feel free to come forward. Seeing none, hearing none, that'll close the public portion for this meeting.
So if you'd like me to review the potential conditions
Yes,
that were
please.
discussed?
Yep.
I have, and I'm sure I missed a few. Nope. That they will work with the board professionals regarding landscaping.
Yep.
That work with the board engineer regarding any potential needs to reduce lot coverage. Provide an EMF report to the board engineer. And there are no issues with any of the review reports, except for the lockbox condition.
There's information that was requested for cybersecurity, but that's separate to, could be a condition if you want the if you absolutely want the documentation provided to you.
As a compliance thing, or they indicated they would just, that you email to.
I think we had a condition of approval to have documentation on hazardous materials.
Okay, documentation on hazardous materials.
And to work with said professionals in the municipality, or to convey, yeah. That's all I had.
And then, of course, the conditions of general applicability, pay your taxes.
Paying the
Most
escrows.
importantly, make sure that escrow is promptly replenished.
And to our professional, has all the questions in your reports been addressed?
They have been on my end, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, and I believe the conditions took care of anything that was still open-ended.
Thank you, Ms. Sarmat. Okay, at this time, what I'll do is I'll open it up to any general final commentary. I'll start on this side of the dais over here. Mr. Bongiorno.
I have no further questions at this time. I think you've done a lot of work in preparation for this, and I'm happy to say that I think you've done a good job.
Mr. Wang.
Thank you, Chairman. I think the presentation is very well prepared, and I have no objections. I'm in line to approve it. Thank you.
Mr. Makura.
I'll start off by saying that the project is very well documented, as we will receive these manuals and drawings. We do know that the area is subject to tremendous flooding every 10 years. And that's of concern to me and everybody else who has public service as a supplier. I just hope that your elevations are sufficient for the next storm that comes through 10 years from now.
Your lips to God's ears.
Mr. Chowdhury.
Well, first of all, the nice documentation, I think came up with that information, but that's why I was selected to be last. Oh, that's the reason. I actually selected to be last because I would like to say that at least some of the technical information would have been much more better prepared than what you have come up with. But nevertheless, effort has been put, and hopefully at least we will have an uninterrupted electricity at our home, and at least in Bridgewater. Thank you very much.
Mr. Banga.
Yeah, I appreciate the, the efforts and the preparation for today. Of course, obviously, electricity is a benefit, as Ms. Marine had mentioned, and does power quite a few homes and businesses. So I appreciate the looking at this from a very robust angle, and ensuring that we can try to think about the future as it relates to some of these 100-year floods and making some of those changes. So appreciate that. Thank you.
I echo the sentiments that were just stated as well, and I think the applicant meets requirements for the hardships in the C1 and the C2 variances. I also appreciate the fact that the applicants also tried to adhere to the master plan by repurposing the structure, the reuse of the structure, and non-abandonment. It's important to realize that whenever we do have these large storms, that the most important services are hospitals, critical utilities, and data center and data services. So this definitely falls within that category. And on a last note, this is what my basement looked like during Hurricane Ida. I don't want my power substation to look like this here in the township of Bridgewater. So I thank you very much, and I would be supporting this application as well. Board Attorney Mr. Peck will need to have a motion for approval of this application with all conditions satisfied and met.
Yeah, the motion would be if someone chose to make it, would be to approve the major site plan and the 3 requested bulk variances subject to the conditions that were previously recited.
Who would like to make that motion?
I can make that motion.
That's Mr. Banga. And a second? Mr. Chowdhury? Mr. Bongiorno?
Yes.
Ms. Probst, could I have a roll call, please? Almost forgot
You
that.
calling the roll?
Yes.
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 Thank you very much, Mr. Keynes. Congratulations. Thank you for your testimony. Mr. Hanson and Ms. Morayner, very much appreciated, and good luck to you during the project.
Thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you very much.
Okay, there are no other items on our agenda this evening. However, I will ask Ms. Probst for calendar items on the next meeting.
Next meeting is 5/19, and it's just a continuation of Wheatsworth. And just as a reminder, we have a special meeting on June 2nd,
June 2nd, right?
and that would be off-site at the library. I'll be sending out more information on that.
That's the Somerset.
Where's
Count-
the library?
On the location of the library?
It'll be in the.
One Vote Drive, VOGT Drive. What? No, it's an address.
It's
That's-
Near.
It's at the public
Rogers,
library.
Near Prince Rogers, I believe.
Yeah, off of Prince Rogers. It's in the notice.
All right, I think we need to
Yes.
adjourn.
Okay, make a motion for dismissal, adjournment. Mr. Chowdhury, Mr. Banga, second. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Good night.
Very much.
All right.
Is he okay?